That is an early morning clap. So this is The World Ends With You Final Remix on Switch. I'm Ghoul02.
I'm Ouro.
And then our couch back here, we have...
Hi, I'm Itskasa.
I'm Cassie, Ouro's girlfriend.
I'm RP Priya, and I run the DS version.
Okay. Real quick, Fan, can you give us an update on the soundtrack real quick before we start?
Yep, right now we're going to be going with the original soundtrack.
Perfect.
Ooh.
I like the original version. Ouro likes the final remix. So I'm going to go ahead, since we're a little bit behind and we spent a long time on audio, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So in 3, 2, 1. All right. So this is The World Ends With You Final Remix. It's a Switch port of The World Ends With You. It's based on the iOS port that came out, I think, about 5 years after the DS version came out. It's kind of like a slightly upgraded version for the most part, but it's relatively identical as far as the way the game plays and works. This version came out last year, and yeah, so this game has a pretty interesting structure in the way the game is played and the way it's built. So first of all, you'll notice it's a co-op run, but we're going to be doing this in a very interesting way. So there are 3 weeks to the game, and we're going to play each of them a different way. So I'm going to be doing the first one by myself in 1 player, 2 controllers. For week 2, Ouro and I are going to do true co-op and yell at each other the entire time. It's going to be hilarious. And then for week 3, Ouro is going to take over. And then after that, since you guys were so generous with all of your donations, we're going to be doing the final time attack on a New Game Plus file that I have on my personal Switch. And that'll be awesome. So
Yeah. So the way the co-op works in this is the combat in the DS version was split between 2 screens, and there was actually a lore reason behind that. So the enemies in this game have to be defeated sort of from 2 different dimensions. Neku taking 1 dimension, and your partner that changes throughout the game taking the other dimension. It kind of loses a bit of that flavor since they merged it onto 1 screen for the iOS version and then this version. But there is a co-op feature in this game that allows you to hand one of your Joy-Cons to a friend and have them control the partner or Neku. We're going to be doing that all by ourselves. So there's going to be 2 pointers on the screen that we're managing by ourselves. And that's a lot of where the skill in this game comes from, is managing those 2 cursors, managing 2 sets of actions, patting our head, rubbing our stomachs at the same time.
yeah. So you might notice, you're like, wait, 2 pointers. Why is this game using pointers? So the original game was controlled almost entirely using the DS touchscreen. You could do a D-pad movement, and that's basically it. And they didn't really have a good way of getting around that without basically completely remaking the game, which just wasn't going to happen. This game clearly, this port did not have the budget to redo everything in the game. So the way it works instead is that it uses the motion controls, the gyroscope inside of each individual Joy-Con and treats it like kind of a Wiimote pointer. So if you've ever played Trauma Center or something like that on the Wii, or fired a bow in Skyward Sword, it's kind of a similar type of thing. And it's going to basically emulate having a stylus on the screen. So this first fight, since we don't have a partner, we can't do anything. So it's just a tutorial for how to run away. And you can select gotta bounce multiple times for some reason. That it was possible in the DS version as well. So then we get the awesome opening cutscene, which is kind of funny in this version because it was really meant for the double stacked DS screens, and then they had to translate this to somehow work on a 16:9 screen, which is really funny because there are points where it's just here's the top of Neku's head and the bottom of Joshua's chin. So, anyways, if we have time for a quick donation or 2 here,
Yeah, of course. We've got $10 from Delphi Knight. Good luck, Ghoul and Ouro. You can do the thing.
Thank you, Delphi. So once we get out of this, we're going to get our first partner, and for the first basically day and a half of the game, we have to play in solo mode. And again, if you're used to the DS version of this game was really unique. It was developed by Jupiter, who was the team behind Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. And if you've seen Chain of Memories or played it, you know that was the game that really pushed the Game Boy Advance to its absolute limits. It did stuff like full motion video, had a huge soundtrack, gorgeous sprite work on the Game Boy Advance. And Nintendo and Square Enix both saw that and thought, wow, these guys are really cool, and imagine what they could do with our new hardware. So they actually got a hands-on with the DS even before it was unveiled to the public. And they said, hey, can you guys make an RPG for the DS and use every single feature on the console? And I mean literally every single feature. The game it used the microphone, it used sleep mode, it used literally everything.
Yep, and this is what we got.
So combat would take place on both screens at once. And on the top screen, you would have basically halfway between a DDR minigame and just mashing directions, for lack of a better way of putting it. It's actually really, really high skill ceiling, and this game has one of the most infamous learning curves. people that have played this game have one of two responses. Either they love it and adore it and it's the best thing ever, or they didn't get past like day 4 of the first week because holy cow, this game is so weird when you're first picking it up.
And you have 3 different partners over the course of the game, so that learning curve, as the game is continuing to get harder over those 3 weeks, you're having to reset yourself basically two more times.
Each partner is actually harder than the last to get used to too. So my first attack that I'm getting is this. It's called Pyrokinesis. It is, you're supposed to just kind of like press anywhere and you'll get like this little fiery trail. Casually, you just like would like use it and like create a giant fiery trail here, but if you just tap it, you can actually kind of preserve the usage of the pin. So you see I'm not even using half of it. If I just hold it, there's enough invulnerability on those frogs where I won't even like kill them with one full rotation of the Pyrokinesis pin. We won't be using Pyrokinesis very much, but... so the way this game works as far as combat goes for Neku in particular is you get basically a bunch of different pins that are kind of like different attacks or abilities. And some of them work very well, or relatively well. And some of them are completely unusable in any practical scenario. And it's funny because the ones that work well on this version are different from the ones that work on the DS version. So on the DS version, like one of the most common types of pins that you use are like press pins and stuff, and those just don't work on this version of the game, at least with the pointer. They actually work relatively okay on the like handheld touchscreen mode, which you can actually play. You can play this exactly like it was the iOS version if you just pull the console out of the dock, but we can't do that because we need to stream the game on feed, and you can only play solo, you can't play co-op when it's undocked.
Yeah, the pointers are just so jittery that almost anything that requires the cursor to be still just does not get picked up very well. It's sort of mitigated. Ghoul plays on the middle sensitivity, which is out of 5. I play on 1. I believe a lot of the other runners of this game play on 1, which mitigates it a little bit, but it really doesn't.
It makes it a little easier to do them, but it's not perfect. So I'm gonna right here. I'm gonna try to jump here, get this frog to attack me. He didn't. That sucks. So if you get him to attack you, he can actually like jump onto the other frog.
So right now we're getting a little bit of how the solo mode works because we don't have the co-op accessible yet. So every single one of your partners in this game will just have an additional pin action that's activated with their own unique command. Eventually, once we activate co-op, they're going to have 3 full sets of pins, or 3 full pins to add to our repertoire, and that's where the second cursor is going to come in.
So here's the week 1 boss. You literally can't die in week 1. She keeps pin action as tap, which is kind of annoying because it's going to kind of overlap a little bit with the Pyrokinesis pin I'm trying to use. There we go. Easy enough. Week 1 is relatively simple. Again, we literally don't even have a health bar, so you can't die. It's meant to just try to get you accustomed because, again, on the DS version, this game's learning curve is ginormous, and it's one of those things like this game is so much more than the sum of its parts because some of its parts are not very good. Like, just being completely blunt. So yeah, that's week 1, day 1. Again, there are 3 weeks in the game of 7 days
of each. Yep.
So the story for this game is actually really, really well done. It's probably the thing that everyone remembers about it. So what's going on is that Neku is in what is called the Reaper's game. And all he knows is that he gets a weird timer on his hand and a text on his phone that says, hey, you need to do this or be erased. So for the first day, it was go to the 104 building, which is conveniently not the 109 building because that would be copyrighted. So day 2, it's go take care of Hachiko, which is a statue inside of Shibuya. And oh my god, my arms are tired from mashing already. Not a good start. So one of the most annoying things about this game, and this is true on the DS version, is that this game has a very, very good cutscene skip in New Game Plus.
And on New Game Plus only. They sped up the text quite a bit on this version. You could quite literally read the entire story over the course of a DS run. But the Switch version thankfully sped up the amount, like the speed at which you can mash quite a bit, much to the dismay of our hands. But
I mean, the DS version is like one of the biggest problems with the DS version actually is how hard it is on hands to begin with. So I'm okay with it, but man. So right here we got our a couple sets of different pins. I'm gonna actually not gonna kill this. Oh, I didn't gonna kill a frog. Nice.
Who's next?
So these are tap pins. Lightning, you just tap an enemy and you'll get a bunch of like zappies on them, and it'll like fire after like a second of delay. And then there's Force Round, which is one of the most common pins you'll see us use over the course of the run. So right here, we're going to get Psychokinesis, which is my favorite because give me a car.
That's a good
That's
spot.
a bike. That's good.
That's the best you can get. So.
We get to throw around objects. And the nice thing about this is The hitbox on it is huge, and the damage is based on the size of the object. So if we're throwing around a car, we're doing a ton of damage. And you'll see us use that quite a bit, especially because a lot of enemies in this game have very bad hitboxes, particularly if they are flying. And then lastly, we have Shockwave, which is a slashing motion. This is why I play on 3, because I find this motion just works better on higher sensitivities. And this is a lot of Neku's main DPS is going to be with a pin with this motion on it.
Interesting thing to note about Psychokinesis as well is, based on which screen in Shibuya we're in, we're going to get a different sort of set of things that can show up during fights, and what can show up in fights is also random within that. So there's going to be fights later where we're going to be trying to use Psychokinesis and just praying for cars, because cars are the absolute best thing you can get. But, you know, we could get bad luck and just get signs and traffic cones and things that just don't do as well.
Yeah. In general, if it's bigger than a traffic blockade, it's usually worth using. Otherwise, you would just focus on other pins. So right here, we're meeting up with Beat and Rhyme. There are other players that are stuck in the Reaper's game. They don't know much more about what's going on than we do. The one thing they are going to do is they're going to give us access to our phone, which is basically this game's menu. Which is great because once we finish this, we're going to actually get access to co-op, which, again, as Ouro alluded to, uses both Joy-Cons, and I get 2 separate pointers mid-combat. You might also notice that I'm only holding one Joy-Con, the other one's on the table. It's because if I accidentally hit a button on that one and it connects to the console's going to freak. The game's going to freak out and say, "Wait a second, do you want to play with that Joy-Con instead?" And it'll like say, "Okay, which one are you going to play with?" And it like freezes the game and then like causes all kinds of issues because you have to have the Joy-Con sitting on a flat surface while you're syncing. Like as soon as you finish syncing, otherwise the game just like thinks that's the default position and you'll get horrendous Joy-Con drift.
Yeah, some of the biggest speed tech in this game is just dealing with tech funk.
Yeah, it's So right here, this is going to be the trigger that gives us co-op. We haven't talked about wall reapers at all. Basically,
There's a bunch of reapers throughout the world, and they kind of gate our progression through each day. Every single one has a condition that they want you to meet in order to access the next area you're supposed to go to. There's 2 different kinds of reapers. There's ones in red hoodies and ones in gray hoodies. The ones in red hoodies are generally the like intended path that you're supposed to take. However, on later days, you'll see ones in gray hoodies, which are optional, but they often unlock shortcuts that are pretty useful. And the rewards you get for clearing their walls are generally better than clearing the normal walls. So we're going to be making use of a couple of those on future days.
Second handcuff on? Okay, we're good.
So now I get the first fight with actual co-op. So you actually see that we have 3 more pins in the bottom right. These are Shiki's new actions that we have access to in co-op. So her first one is a tap, where she'll kind of send her plush cat to just hit enemies. The second one is a slash, which strangely enough you can use it anywhere, so it is really easy to just kind of slash nothing. Her third move is also a spinning lariat, which you can kind of just spin to activate and then just like kind of hold it over enemies, and it just pretty much destroys them.
It's one of the best partner actions in the game. You'll see me use it a lot. So basically, a lot of times when I'm playing, I'm going to be watching for Shiki's cooldowns in particular. Also, I got really unlucky on some of these enemy groupings.
Yeah, so one of the hardest things about managing the one-player co-op is not even necessarily the cursors, but managing your pin cooldowns and making sure that you don't kind of have these long periods of having nothing to do and just wasting a bunch of time. And obviously, the pins are in opposite corners of the screen, so your eyes are just constantly darting around, while also managing these 2 cursors. There's just a whole lot to handle here.
That is a really bad fight.
It's okay, we're still waking up.
Yeah, we're still waking up, and I'm still getting used to it. One of the things that that's a little bit tricky with this sometimes is Joy-Cons don't have the best radios in them for the Bluetooth. So on occasion, you'll actually see like the cursor jump a little bit, and that's specifically because it's having Bluetooth interference. So hopefully we don't deal with that too much during the run, but I will.
When we were doing our practice run over in the next room over yesterday, there were 4 switches all playing Octopath like right next to us, and like by the time we got to the end of the run, the cursors were just all over the place. Like I was over here to like center it, and it gets pretty crazy.
So we go to Hachiko, and we're like, okay, cool. We just do what we did to the Moyai statue, the Easter Island statue, and that'll be like all we have to do, right? And we go to it, and there's no noise. And we're like, wait a second, that's not right. So we get a better look, and she's like, well, Shiki's like, well, something seems off, and we're like, you're an idiot, because Neku is, of course, the like most edgy, amnesiac 2007 JRPG protagonist of all time.
Yeah, right now he just hates everyone. He has headphones on all the time because he doesn't want to listen to anyone else talk. He just hates everything.
All right, time to pet the dog. Get the
You
butt,
can
get the butt.
indeed pet the dog in this game. Very important.
Thankfully, that is a lot faster on this version than the DS version.
Watch yourself.
So I'm going to briefly touch
How
on...
did you end up on that side of the Neku?
Yeah, they're kind of all over the place right now. So every enemy in this game has 4 different things they can drop, 1 for each of the 4 difficulties. We're only going to see 3 of the difficulties throughout the course of the run. One of them is a post-game unlock you can get. But every single one of those has a certain percentage to happen that's multiplied by your drop rate, which is going to, we're going to touch on that a little bit later. But each of these wolves has a 500 yen pin that can drop that we need 5 of to clear a wall. I believe it's on the next day.
2 days from now.
Yeah. And most of the time you'll wind up with anywhere between 5 and 7. But there are times where we've had runs that, you know, you'll wind up with 3 and you actually have to do a couple extra fights for them.
Or in RTA, it's time to just reset because it's early enough.
So that was the first boss.
Yep. Lariat is really good. It's kind of the theme from a lot of the first week.
So, who's next?
9 seconds there is good. One of the nice things about this game, even when you're running it, is you can actually look and see how fast each individual fight is because of the in-game timer. It's not perfect. We have a super attack that we're going to get starting on the next day that doesn't count in the in-game timer. But in general, it's a good way of marking okay, that was a good fight, that was kind of bad. And you kind of have these little benchmarks that you're looking for in your own head as you go through the course of the run. So right here in the story, we finished the mission for the day, and Uzuki on the left there is a Reaper, and she's going to trick Neku and say hey, I'll let you out of the game, but you
If
have
you
to
kill your partner.
Yeah, which we know is a horrible, horrible idea, but Neku's an Amnesiac 2007 JRPG protagonist, and he's like, oh, okay, sure. So I hope you enjoyed this cutscene because we're going to see it twice.
Yeah, I guess they thought you, the player, are also an amnesiac right after this and are just going to forget what immediately happened. So they just show you this exact cutscene again.
To be fair, on the DS version, you can save after right after this screen, it pops up with a save prompt. So
Yeah.
maybe they expect you to save and then walk away for a month and then come back and wait, what
On
happened?
the last
again?
episode of The World Ends With You.
Previously on The World Ends With You, final remix.
Also, this is total confirmation that Neku's going to be in Smash. Please, Sakurai.
Yeah, you can look in the background. There's a little circle. Everyone makes fun of that.
So yeah, if you have time for one or 2 more donations, this is probably a good time since we're just watching the same cutscene again.
All right, we have $250 from Anonymous. Nami has recently become very important to me as I watch my girlfriend battle with PTSD every day. I love RPG Limit Break and all that it stands for. Let's all keep moving forward together.
Thank you very much.
We have $10 from Ridley19. Hi there, still a pleasure to donate for such a great cause. Love from France.
Tell me who you are, who you were.
Could probably squeeze in one more. We have a bit more text here to just go through.
We have $25 from Anonymous. So hyped for The World Ends With You. Haven't played this game in years, but I already feel the music calling to me. Seriously, nothing can beat it. I'm not joshing. While some games are rock solid, others could be really cheeky, without any rhyme or reason to their design. But in my opinion, the producer was really on the ball with this one. So let's make some noise and support Nami during this extraordinary, stylish game.
Are you sure this wasn't Gun Arm Dine? So our mission for the day is we're supposed to defeat the master of A East. And A East is this kind of concert stage in Shibuya. And as luck so happens, we wake up in A East and we just walk out oh, we're here. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to go over to Ouro's favorite store in the entire game. Ouro is a fan of the Edge. And we're going to go first toggle this because there's no reason to not have it active. And we're going to buy a ribbon bonnet for Shiki. It's 5 attack, and attack is really, really good in this version of the game. So then we're going to head south. So basically, the stage right now is completely blacked out. The power isn't working, and we don't know why, but there's a stage tech that's surely really good at his job. He's hired by the biggest rock star in Shibuya. I'm sure he knows what he's doing, right? You just got to go find him and make sure he's doing his job properly.
So now we're getting our proper introduction to the fusion attacks, which are kind of both character super moves. that we're generally going to be trying to avoid. So each one of these is a 26-second time thing that takes up. And most fights we can do under 26 seconds. So anytime we do this, it would be easier, but it's just kind of straight up time loss. There are some periods where we're going to use it. There's some bosses that have very brief windows of vulnerability that have less health to compensate, so we can kind of just sneak in that brief window of vulnerability and just get in a fusion to kill them instantly. But we're going to be generally trying to avoid it.
The big reason that it takes so much longer in this version, you might be saying like, wait, 26 seconds, that sounds like really long, is that since this game used to have like a mini game on the top screen that you would play to make it a little more engaging than just mash left, mash right, dodge attacks on occasion. They wanted to find a way of implementing that, like, because like it adds a little bit of character flair to it. So their way of doing that was to kind of translate that mini game into like something you do during your fusion attack.
So for Shikis, there's different symbols that pop up, and you have to match the card that's up in this top center. We'll see that probably either on like the next day or on day 6, depending on what kind of patterns we get.
So our stage tech is over here getting some ramen in the middle of lunch at the only empty ramen bar in Shibuya.
So we're going to buy a little bit of food here. Don't forget to buy a second miso. Yeah. So the way food works in this game is you have basically a stomach, and you can digest a certain amount of food per real-time day. There is a little bit that you can digest always after you use up a little bit. But the way food works is it digests after a certain number of fights. The game calls them bites, which are those little squares. So once you digest the food, you get a certain bonus, whether it be an increase to your sync, which won't really be relevant for this version, or stats, which is one of the main things we're going to be gunning for. So one of the main stats that we're going to be increasing with food is bravery. And the way bravery works is it's your main kind of requirement as far as whether you can wear certain pieces of equipment. And there's certain thresholds we need to hit by certain points of the run in order to wear the equipment we want to. So we're going to kind of be keeping food on Neku as much as possible. We are going to be giving some food to our partners, but it's definitely a lot less important than the food we're giving to Neku.
I'd like to interject for one just quick second. We just hit over $65,000.
Nice.
That's how it's done.
Another 500 yen in there. That's really nice.
Yeah. So you might notice on one of the last menus that Ghoul dropped his level to 1. So the way the levels work in this game is you can change them at any time. And the only real thing your level affects is your health and your drop rate. So by setting ourselves to level 1 for the majority of weeks 1 and 2...
I didn't touch, there's no way!
That's okay, that's alright.
That's really annoying. So, this game, they didn't want to have traditional RPG encounters. So the idea was that you would like, go into this like secondary state and you could see the enemies and you could pick them. The problem is they can overlap and like the different priority system just doesn't always work. Okay, there we go.
Their hitboxes are a little bit bigger than they look too, so it's easy to hit like the corner of one that looks like you're not touching it. And
This won't be hard.
so these are pigs. These are enemies that are kind of hidden throughout certain screens in the game. And they basically just are dropped like special pins that are a little bit rarer than usual on whatever day you're on. So we're going to be killing a couple of them for 5,000 yen pins, which is going to be our main source of money for some shopping coming up. And I was also starting to talk about the drop rate as well. So when you're at level 1, your drop rate is increased by a multiplier of how many levels you are below maximum. So right now it's only an additional 2 or additional 1 drop rate since it's multiplying it by 2. But as we go across the course of the game and get more and more levels, we're going to get more and more drop rate, which is going to be very important for some farming that we have to do on later days. So our requirement for this wall is just defeating 2 of the medium noise, which are the wolves on this screen. So these bats are our first real introduction to flying enemies. Flying enemies are awful, as they are in probably most video games. They have weird hitboxes that are kind of just harder to work with in general than normal enemies. A lot of moves just interact with them very strangely as well. Thankfully, that's where Psychokinesis is going to primarily come in. It's really easy to hit them with the massive hitbox of Psychokinesis.
Yeah, especially like Shockwave does not actually activate unless you like the game recognizes that you would hit a target. And on birds, it's really really? Okay. We're gonna have to reload.
Wow.
Wait, oh.
There's one off on the right. It's peeking out. Marathons, ladies and gentlemen. Things happen.
So the noise placement is random, so like I don't always have what I have access to. And to get past the Reaper's barrier here, I have to kill 3 wolf noise.
Here it comes. Here it comes.
Thankfully, Shiki is pretty good at handling flying enemies, even though Neku is terrible at it. Since 2 of her abilities are completely targeted and work pretty well at actually hitting them. Well, one's targeted and the other one is just so giant you can't miss. So, we cleared the Wall Reaper. It's important to know, I don't know exactly when you get them, but like you'll notice we got like a sticker for Shiki. Stickers kind of are like permanent upgrades to your partners. Like some of them will like reduce the cooldowns on their pins. They'll make them last longer. So like Lariat right now lasts maybe 3 seconds. It'll get to the point where it lasts like 6. It ends up being pretty impactful, but you just kind of there's not much we can do about it. So we just kind of I don't know when things happen, just that it does get better over time.
Yeah, it's one of those things that doesn't really change the way you play.
I got to freeze on the screen. No. There's a glorious scene of Shiki asking, "What is a meme?" What you know, this game was from 2007.
Yeah, so right here we're introduced. That cutscene was introducing us to a mechanic called memes and imprinting. So we're basically going to be able to sort of inception people and kind of strongly suggest ideas to them. And in the case of this day, it's going to be just making the tech remember that he needs to do certain things. Because he's just like running around Shibuya right now, just like, God, what was I supposed to do? I can't remember. I know I have this job. They call me a tech, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So you actually never actually directly receive money in this game. All the money you receive is in the form of pins that you have to sell in order to actually get the money, which is actually kind of plays into your sort of low money cap at the beginning of the game, and we're actually never going to be expanding it. There is a larger wallet you can buy casually. But we're buying a bunch of ice cream here. This is the main food we're going to be keeping rolling on Neku for the majority of the run.
Say goodbye to the best shopkeeper in the game, by the way. So shopkeepers have a thing in this game called affection, where as you buy things from them, they'll expand their shop and like teach you different things about your weapons that you didn't know. And in her case, it's really cute because she like starts off like normal fast food worker, and then she develops a crush on Neku, and it's the most adorable thing ever.
Open up.
So we're gonna go here. It's a slight detour. We're gonna get the cough drop meme, which is going to have us get the tech is going to go buy cough drops for 777 because he's been shouting all day. And you might think like that's a little bit out of the way, but money in the early game is especially difficult to come by, and that gives us a pin worth 20,000 yen.
Which is
really
a
big.
lot for this point.
Yeah. Like each of those pig fights we gave us 5,000 for reference, and that was high for this area in the game. So, and then we're going to get a fuse, the fuse meme from him, so we know like, oh, they just need a fuse to do this. So then we're going to go over here, we're going to talk to the businessmen, and we're going to imprint anything on him, doesn't matter what. There we go.
An interesting note about the memes you obtain in this is you actually get them in, or they're listed in the order you receive them, so you actually can have them listed in a different order. Obviously, every runner has, the order they do it, and it's always going to be the same order, so you never get tripped up by it. But
I accidentally did your order instead of mine. So you have to make sure you imprint cough drops there, because if you imprint fuse first, he just buys the fuse, and you can't actually imprint cough drops on him.
And then you're just out 20,000 yen, and
yeah,
a lot of the shopping just does
I'd have
not
to
work.
recognize that before, or we'd have a very interesting set of rerouting on the fly. So he goes into Cosmic Corner, which is the shop here, buys the cough drops, and he's like, all right, I got the cough drops, but I'm still forgetting something. And you're like, yeah, we should just like imprint a part of repairs on him. You go here, imprint fuse. It's like, oh, a fuse, of course. I'm good at my job. So we go in, we check on him, make sure he buys it, which he does, and then we got to go back and talk to 777. We're going to find out in a second that this doesn't actually fix the problem. They're like, okay, we've replaced the fuse, but the stage light is still off. And then Shiki's going to go, Neku, something's still attacking, and that's going to be the boss for the area. This is one of the hardest bosses to do very well in a speedrun. If I do this really well, I can one-cycle it, but it's very unlikely.
So the way this boss works is the entire stage is completely darkened still. And we need to use Shiki to go to what is sort of pretending to be the top screen. And there's bats that are clinging to wires that we need to defeat. All the other ones around it are completely unnecessary. There's still one on the left.
Yeah. there's almost no chance against
So now that the lights are back on, we can damage the boss. And after a certain amount of time, the boss is going to shut the lights back off, and we're going to have to do this again. You would be thinking, like, wow, if there's only this brief window of vulnerability that you were talking about, this is usually where you use fusions, right? So like we said, fusions take 26 seconds, and almost every single time, if you perform the fight with any sort of tact, you're going to be doing this fight faster with just 2 cycles, even if you miss the 1 cycle. So we're just going to go up and... You also might notice that the green health bars in this game go by a lot faster than the yellow ones. There isn't an exact number that we've been able to find as far as, you know, how it's weighted, but it's a rough estimate of like 75% of their health is the yellow bar and the other 25% or so is the green. There are some bosses where their attack patterns change if they're in their green health, which is why they're differentiated. But it's just very strange to see your, you know, the health gradually ticking down and then it's just gone.
Yeah, and like that fight like went about as badly as that can go without using a fusion.
And it was still faster than using a fusion.
Yeah, so with a fusion you get about a 30-second or a 30-second fight or so. It's about 50 or so total when you factor in the fusion. It was still 4 seconds faster than using the fusion, even with a pretty bad 2-cycle. So we find out here that thankfully we didn't actually get the final hit on it. And we were out of time, but only one person has to actually, or one team has to accomplish the task for everyone in the Reaper's game to be okay. And Beat and Rhyme saved our high knees, otherwise we'd be scrambling to go find the Paper Mario runners.
I'm even advertising for them too. I don't have a shirt for this game, unfortunately.
You get to have a lot of fun a little bit here. So Ouro will be on the cast for both of them because Ouro is also a Paper Mario runner, so... While I get to go and get some sleep or some food, he gets to...
I'm going to run off and grab some more coffee and then be right back.
So, week 1, day 4, we get a mission and it's like, there's no time limit, go to Tower Records and just, you know, take your time. And Uzuki and Karya, who are kind of our Reaper, like, main characters, are like, who made today's mission for 3 and up? Or ages 3 and up.
We're good on 500s, thankfully.
So we get our mission, and Beat decides we're going to race. And by race, he's going to take off running, and we're going to go shopping. So Shiki asked to go to the 104 building, which is... if you're not familiar with Shibuya, this is an analog for the 109 building, which is probably the most famous building in Shibuya. And it's kind of a women's fashion center, for lack of a better term. Like, you can...
It's the place to be for everything that's trendy.
Yeah. So we're going in, we're learning about trends. So every single piece of equipment, or most pieces of equipment and pins have a brand associated with them. And it's based on the animals of the Chinese zodiac. And what's important about that is that different things are popular in different areas because Shibuya is on the cutting edge of fashion. I can't believe I did that. Okay. One of the most annoying things about this game is when you're mashing through text, your cursor ends up in random places all the time.
Come on in. Thanks a bunch.
Okay, 4,
Come on
by
in.
2 of you.
So yeah, every single area in the game, Shibuya is broken up into the different screens we're going between. Every single one of them kind of has a random set of trending brands. There's 13 different brands. 3 are going to wind up on top, and then 1's going to be at the very, very bottom and going to get weakened. You can sort of influence the trends by using pins and clothes of a certain brand. But we're not really going to be in any given area in most instances long enough to influence the brands too much. And they do shuffle around from day to day. So that's not really something that's going to affect us too much. There is that random, like, essentially 1 in 13 chance that the pins we're using are going to be weakened. But yeah, we kind of just deal with it, and whatever happens, happens. So we need to do a little bit of farming here. We need 2 1,000 yen pins to clear the next wall, which are a drop from these blue frogs. And we're going to basically just hope for cars on these fights.
Do we have time for a couple of donations?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
Well, we have $100 from Gimmick187. World Ends With You speedrunners and commentators doing a great job. Keep up the good work.
Okay. Oh my god, that's only the second frog on the screen. Real quick, what's an update on the soundtrack, since that is a rolling incentive? You guys can change it if you would like to.
Yeah, Right and How Original has a commanding lead at $370 to Final Remix's $101.11. So if you want to hear the final remix, get your donations in. As soon as that crosses, I'll let them know, and you'll be able to switch mid-game.
And you definitely want to hear it.
Here it comes.
Decent set of fights.
Yep.
That truck died instantly, though. So different items on the map have different levels of durability. It sometimes feels a little bit random when things kind of disappear from throwing them around. You kind of just want trucks and cars to last long enough to kill things, but sometimes they don't always. And that's one of the frustrating things about that pin is it's so good when it works, but it's really inconsistent because even sometimes when you get a car, it doesn't last long enough for you to actually, use it. And then if you get nothing, like, just get nothing but traffic cones, you just don't do any damage. And the hitbox on it is tiny.
So we just got a new pin that we're going to be putting on almost immediately called Love Me Tether. It's a sort of another slash action, but it drags a huge chain across the screen that multi-hits enemies and can be used to reposition them a little bit as well. And it's going to be one of the main pins we use for basically the entire rest of the game. We're also going to be putting on another pin called Poison Bones. And what Poison Bones does is inflicts defense break on enemies at the start of fights, which, as it sounds, lowers their defense, which just allows us to do more damage. We'll eventually work up to 5 pin slots in the run, but you kind of wind up with so many pins that you only have so many things you can do before the cooldowns are back up. So pins with just kind of passive abilities that just sit there and give us an inherent value are just really, really nice to have, actually.
So right here, we get to Tower Records, and the Game Master's trap is sprung, and you see the shark is about to attack Beat, but Rhyme is awesome and saves her brother, even though she doesn't know it's her brother. Just really touching moment. Rest in peace.
And you also see the brief flash of a car there. We'll learn why that is a little bit later.
So, Beat's partner is now gone, which means he can't fight Noise anymore, and in fact, if he doesn't get a new partner of some kind soon, he will vanish on his own within a couple minutes. Also, shout out to Newborns. This is probably one of the best songs in the entire game.
Definitely. So we have a sequence of 2 fights here. We have to fight these frogs, and then we're going to get the boss of the week, or of the day, which is Swing Shark. So the way Swing Shark works is it's just this, you're going to see this little fin at the start of the fight, and it can dive and be invulnerable, and it's really, really annoying. So we're going to try to keep it in stun lock as long as we possibly can. Hopefully it never breaks out and it just goes down pretty quick. We actually saw for the first time, neither of us had seen it before, but the boss just instantly dove yesterday in our practice run, and
I was hitting it, and I'm like, where did he go?
Usually you have enough time to hit it and keep it in stun lock before it has a chance to do anything. It'll kind of like wiggle around, but it usually doesn't have enough time to dive.
Here it comes.
That was really good.
That was really good. Yeah, in general, as long as I keep hitting it, I feel good. You can, like, sometimes they'll just stay in the corner, sometimes they'll, like, kind of teleport out, but I was doing a pretty good job of tracking him and going with it. Sometimes it's really easy to get stuck hitting other things, and the shark just kind of hides behind them and then just goes invulnerable, which is really frustrating when it happens.
So you might be noticed our pins are gaining experience and leveling up as we're doing fights as well. So there's 2 different kinds of experience in this game. There's battle experience and there's shutdown experience. So when you shut the game off and your pins aren't at max level, you actually gain experience passively just having your game off a certain amount of time. And some pins in the game can actually evolve when they reach their max level. And it actually, a lot of them care about how much experience you got from certain sources. Pretty much all the pins in the run that we use that evolve are going to evolve through battle experience. So as long as the majority of their experience came from battles, they're going to evolve when they hit their max level. It actually is a little bit annoying when you're practicing this game in segments. You have to remember to take your pins off if they're ones that need to evolve later, because I've had practice runs that I've done in segments where I've hit max level and forgotten about it, and they don't evolve because most of their experience came from shutdown experience.
It's an especially annoying problem in the DS version because there's a pin called Ice Blow that's really important in the early part of that game. Well, it's not very good in this version, but in that version it's really important, and it evolves through shutdown PP. I bought that.
Thank you.
So we're buying a CD track here. This is actually going to be to clear our first of the optional walls that I talked about earlier. This opens a little bit of a shortcut to a shopping trip that we're going to do. So this Reaper also finally gives us the ability to chain encounters. So what chaining does is allows us to sequence up to 4 fights together, and every single fight in that sequence is going to get harder and harder. Saves us a little bit of time because there's not an end of fight screen in between every single fight, so we'll only get, you know, one end of screen or end of fight screen per chain. It also multiplies our drop rate, as you see in the bottom right-hand corner, and that's not necessarily important right now, but it is going to come into play with some farming we're going to do a little bit later.
Watch yourself.
And the more fights you chain, the higher the drop rate goes, so we're going to get quite a lot of drop rate from that. These porcupine enemies are actually some of the most annoying enemies in the game. They like to move off screen, off to the edges, and just kind of shoot projectiles at you. And the screen does scroll if you move to the edges up to a certain point. So it's really easy to defeat every enemy on the screen and just kind of forget about the porcupine and just kind of have to figure out where it went. But as long as you're paying attention to the enemies on top of your pin cooldowns and the cursors and everything else that's going on, you're golden.
So one thing that's really important to note, you notice that like my favorite pin to use was Shiki. It's not the case for everyone. I think Punchy actually likes the slash with her a little bit better, but I will try to burn all of the pins that I can at the end of a fight if I have like a little bit left on it, just because it's better to have it on cooldown at the start of a fight than it is to like be stuck with like
one use of it
like
left.
it's like 2 hits of the lariat. So
yeah, they actually give you a lot of time between fights to kind of burn any extra pins that you want to, so it actually works out really well in that regard. So we're buying 3 hot dogs here. These are going to be a slight boost to attack for our partner Joshua primarily over the course of week 2 when we get there. Not a super significant thing, but it's kind of good to just make use of the food when you can.
it's there, it matters, and it doesn't really take much time to get. It's very hard to quantify like small differences in this run.
The fights are just so variant on their own that, you know, if you're increasing your attack by only 3 or so, it's really hard to say exactly how much time it saves.
Okay, so what am I doing here? It's
Come on
Tiger
in.
Pumps.
Biker Vest.
I thought it was 4 sneakers first.
It's Biker Vest.
Oh.
So the order you buy things actually is pretty important as far as how your reputation increases. And getting to certain reputation thresholds actually gives us secondary abilities on the equipment we're getting.
Nice, isn't it? Thanks a bunch.
Hey, man.
And those range from anything between, you know, just straight up stat increases, and there's other passive abilities like faster sync and things like that that we end up getting from these that are pretty useful.
What's the run yet? No, okay.
No. Did you get the casquettes?
I don't have enough money. Like,
I think you only need like 5k more. Can you sell anything else?
nope.
Yeah, we're a little short. What happened?
I have no idea.
Huh. That's
So.
fine. We're going to be back here later anyway,
Yeah.
so. That's actually the first time I've seen that happen. That's never happened before.
Right here.
So the goal for this day is to clear out all the noise from Spain Hill. And there's a bunch of noise. The game kind of triggers the next thing after we clear out 3 noise in this area, so we're just going to do a 3 chain here.
You're good as gone.
We also equipped 2 more pins on a recent menu. The first one is called Masamune, and it's basically just a replacement for Shockwave. It's just a straight up better version that's going to evolve through the course of the run. The second one is Murasame, which is basically Shoryuken in Street Fighter. It just does a little uppercut, and it's actually really good for CCing enemies. And just keeping them locked down. It actually does a good chunk of damage as well. We actually need to have it on and level it up as well. There's an optional wall that we're going to clear in a couple days that requires Murasame to be level 3, and specifically level 3. It can go higher. So we're going to get it to level 3 over the next few fights, and then we're going to actually take it off and replace it with Psychokinesis again for a farming segment. Just to make sure it doesn't get over that level 3 threshold.
Watch yourself.
So since the spawns and encounters are semi-random, it can kind of spawn enemies on top of environmental hazards, and the game doesn't like when they're stacked on top of each other, so they'll kind of just like push them apart very forcefully.
It's really funny with birds. The hitboxes on birds are so bad the game doesn't know how to place them sometimes.
So they'll start next to each other and just go boop.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's a great placement, and then it'll like disappear. It's like, oh.
Thanks, game.
Do we have a few moments to read some donations?
Yeah, probably we're doing a few more fights here, so.
Alrighty.
We have $10 from Priya on the couch. Much like Shiki, this is one of the first plushies my friend Cassini Closet made, and she gave it to me as a present. He's not a pig.
Totally a pig.
We also have $15 from Lucas. Calling was my ringtone for the longest time, and watching this be run is bringing back so many good memories. Thank you, RPG Limit Break.
Calling's one of my favorite songs in the game, so good taste.
It also like is a really solid ringtone because he just feels like, someone is calling. So I approve as well. So we find out that these two girls are having this little feud, and we know that like when I didn't burn the rest of that lariat, that's gonna be unfortunate. So whenever like people are having issues or like arguments or debates, you know, noise kind of like are attracted to that. So we can't really clear this area out until we actually fix the root problem. Did it burn?
Oh my gosh.
I think it's actually just hasn't flipped over to not being active.
Yeah. So we're like, oh yeah, all the noise are coming from these girls, so we'll just clear the noise and then it'll be fine. But after this, you know, the day still isn't going to be completed, so we're going to actually have to solve their dispute for them through a mechanic called Reaper Creeper, which is basically just a glorified Ouija board that more or less has no influence over what actually happens.
Yeah, you can do anything. We're going to go to the fastest option, which is neither, which kind of leads to some funny dialogue. Because they think we're just messing with them. So basically what's going on is the girl on the left has a crush on a boy, and she thinks that her friend on the right is trying to steal her boy from her, and we find out that it's actually very sweet, and she's getting tickets to try to hook him up, like, hey, you know, go to this concert together, and I'm sure it'll work out. But that's, you know, she sees her buying 2 tickets for this thing, and it's like, uh-oh.
You're moving in on my territory.
So we're going to say neither 3 times. One thing about Reaper Creeper is everyone that's played the DS version is like, oh my god, what the heck? Like,
You're moving it so fast.
For some reason on the iOS version, you can just move it that fast and the game doesn't care. You can still go too fast sometimes.
Yeah, you had to very carefully nudge it on DS, and if you move it too fast, they're like, oh, you bumped the table.
Yeah,
it's not actually the ghosts.
Yeah, on the DS version.
Don't forget about ice cream. Your food just ran out. We're actually a little bit behind on the food route right now, but it's totally fine. We're still probably going to hit the threshold when we need to.
Just go on? Yeah.
Yes.
I need to keep myself on level 1 if we're behind on money.
Yeah. So we have one final yellow noise fight here to kind of fully solve their dispute, and then we're going to have a quick boss fight. The boss is just the upgraded version of the Mosh Grizzlies here, so it's going to play out pretty much exactly the same as these Grizzly fights have been. So we probably have time for a couple more donations in that time.
Not an option.
Nothing at the moment, but I do have a question.
Sure.
So, I noticed you're pointing to select any option in text. How is that? Does it?
It's
does it feel
actually
a little
really
bit annoying?
So the way that I do my text mashing on dialogue that you have to choose options during is I'll like yank the cursor downwards just to make absolutely sure that I'm not in the middle of the screen, because it's really easy to accidentally like double select an option and just have to listen to the same dialogue again, and it's really easy to lose time to that.
It's really bad on the tutorials for Fusion because it's a solid like minute or time lock if you have to redo the fight when you do it. It's like, oh hey, you want to like practice doing fusions together? And it's like, no, if I want to practice doing fusions, I would do it in a normal fight where I get rewards.
We also haven't touched on it yet, but you might have noticed during that fight that there was a sync attack multiplier at the bottom. So the way that works is when you alternate attacks with your partner and Neku, you'll notice the enemy's like flashing green, and we're building that meter. And that gives us a flat damage multiplier on all our attacks. It goes up to a ×2 and is dropped if we, stopped attacking.
Or take damage.
Or take damage, which, I mean, stops us from attacking.
Yeah.
That mechanic worked a little bit differently on the DS version. The multiplier went up to 5, and there was essentially this little light puck that you had to pass back and forth between the top and the bottom screen. And that was actually one of the focal points of how that run works.
It was kind of a genius bit of game design, too, because the idea was meant to be that you would follow the light puck, and it would keep your eyes bouncing between both screens as you played, so that you weren't just, like, only playing Neku or only playing the top screen. You would be, okay, now I'm going to go to the bottom screen. Okay, now I did a combo there, and I'm going to follow the light puck up to the top screen. And the DS run is entirely centered around making that puck go as fast as possible and then hitting for, like, stupid damage once you get to a 5 times multiplier. It's a really brilliant route. This game has such a cool speedrun history when you go all the way back to the DS version. It's one of the earliest times I can remember ever seeing anything related to speedrunning was there was a guide on Game FAQs that was just a speedrun guide, and it was like, it's a really simple thing. This guy just kind of said, hey, this is how to beat the game, in, at the time it was a 6-hour, in-game time, and it's like, this is how you do it, like, this is the theory, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing everything. Like, if you want to play the DS version and understand how it works, the first thing I will say to do is to actually read the notes inside of that speedrun guide. And that was by, oh my gosh, I just looked it up before the run. What is it? Oh, is it Redman?
You're good as gone.
I actually thought it was someone different way back then, but... So Redman's the current world record holder, so if he actually went back to the game, that's really cool.
That was nothing.
So that guide was there, and then from there, he's known for Golden Sun, but a runner by the name of TL Plexa actually went and did some revisions on that route, which then was passed to a runner that's known in the Pokemon community by MBM. From there, it went on to a good friend of mine, ECAS, also known as Chubfish, who did a ton of cool stuff. Actually started implementing danger strats into the DS version. Ended up not being faster, but like a lot of that became the basis for what happens in this run.
We'll touch on that a bit later when we actually get to activating that, which is going to come in week 3, so quite a bit later.
Yeah. So this game is like, this game's touched so many people over the years. It's really, really exciting to be like kind of the first people to showcase this at a major marathon. So right here, we got to do a little Quizlet.
Don't forget to put Psychokinesis on.
Yeah.
So the main goal for this day is basically doing marketing for this guy named Makoto, who is not very good at it himself. So there's this red pin that we need to kind of bring to attention of everyone. And Makoto's trying to do it, and he just doesn't really know how to resonate with people. So we're going to be using memes, much like the Sonic the Hedgehog Twitter, to do a lot of our marketing.
Good on food.
So we're going to do the first of our real, actual farming here. So we're going to do a 4-chain of these bird noise. And they drop a very important sort of crafting material called rare metal. With our drop rate multiplied by the chain and being at level 1, we're pretty likely to get a bunch here. We're also going to be using fusions here. We usually only use these if we get kind of bad enemy layouts. Like we said before, flying enemies are really hard to deal with. This can be just kind of a clean way to make sure we do it consistently. You also notice that during this minigame, based on how we perform, there's this multiplier on our attack power and our drops. The attack refers to the damage that the fusion is going to do, and the drop adds however many we got on the multiplier drop rate stars rounded down. So we're going to get 4 extra drop rate stars on this fight specifically. So that helps a little bit to guarantee the rare metal drops from these birds.
We can do this, Neku.
Every time I get baited by that. It'll like spawn them right next to each other. I'm like, oh cool, I can hit them all at once. And then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, they're gonna just end up in opposite sides of the screen.
And we're not getting super, super lucky with things to use Psychokinesis on. Ideally, we get really good stuff to throw at these birds, but we're really not getting much.
I'm looking for at least a scooter. If I get a scooter, I feel pretty good about it, but signs are
Signs
not.
are, they get the job done, but they're not great. Another thing that's slightly annoying as far as getting the rare metals we need is that these encounters can just randomly have other enemies. It's not really worth it to reset them and try to get birds. But we can either get 2 or 3 birds per encounter basically, and it sort of affects how much we wind up with. We only need 5 rare metals from this chain. We are going to need an additional 14 rare medals later on in the run, but we can kind of get those by proxy through a lot of other fights that we're going to be doing just kind of by happenstance. But as many as we can get here, the better. We certainly welcome it.
Again, go! Here it comes.
Easy.
So I think we got 8 there, which is pretty good.
Losing's not an option.
Yeah. Like I said, we only need 5. Anything more than that is just kind of icing on the cake. So yeah, that
Usually
feels pretty nice.
I'm looking to get about 7 normally there. So we go turn in for that, gets us a bit of money, clears the wall, but we're also going to go this way. Since it's a little bit faster, we need to go by Malco anyway.
So now we should be able to buy the hats that we didn't have enough money for on the previous day as well. We're also going to be upgrading the cotton biker vests that we just bought into biker jackets, which are some of the best attack top body pieces that we're going to be able to get.
The base is it's 10 attack, but it also has a passive where if it's on Neku, Neku gets a bonus plus 5 attack. So it's 15 attack, and his base attack is like 10. So very, very good. So first, we're going to do the last little bit of marketing.
And all the dialogue for these is pretty comical. They're pretty funny.
Yeah, our analog for Villagin wants some hot stuff.
And he kind of just like comes up and steals the pin, and he's just like, "Wait, is that okay that he stole that?"
Yeah,
I mean, I guess
what-
it's showing it off, but
Like, am I supposed to be mad that he stole that, or is that okay? So I got to take the cotton biker
make
vest.
sure you give Neku more ice cream too. Looks like he was out.
Yeah, I got to go in and get the stuff anyway. So
Yeah, that's true.
I have no idea what happened to my money there.
Yeah, I don't know. We were just like 5K short
Hey, man.
ish.
We were supposed to be able to buy 2. We couldn't
Yeah.
buy 1.
See ya.
We were like just short, but yeah, it was.
I've had it before where I can only buy 1.
Come
That's
on
not
in.
like
Uh-huh.
super.
Yeah, I've never had that.
Nice, isn't it? Thanks a bunch.
There's a little bit of menuing. Neku can wear the purple sneaks and give him a little bit more food. We can put the biker jacket on Shiki. Shiki starts with absurdly high bravery, so like almost anything we can get on these early couple days, she can just wear instantly, which is really, really nice actually.
Yeah,
Since we don't have much time for her to build.
As you go on, different like each partner kind of gets less and less brave, which can
Did
be
you
a
put
little
Red
bit.
Skull on?
Put what on?
Did you put Red Skull on?
I did not. Okay, I'll do that in just a second. I usually wait until right before I have to do it, just because like
Makes sense.
I don't want to like accidentally do a fight and then have the red skull pin. So right here, this is Shiki is going to see herself, which is very confusing to us who has no idea what's going on. But we haven't talked about it at all. But basically, to enter the Reaper's game, we find out that it's like kind of this limbo between life and death. And as you're playing the game, if you finish the full week, you get a second chance at life. But in order to enter, you have to give up what is most precious to you. So for Neku, the reason he's an amnesiac, conveniently to the players, so we understand what's going on with the story, is that his memories were his most valued possession. Shiki's is her appearance and herself.
And in this case, she takes on the appearance of her very close friend Eddie. And yeah, she admires her very much. And it's kind of unfortunate because right before she died, they got into this, or she kind of overheard her saying something, and they got into this little argument. And
It was kind of like a misinterpreted statement, like, hey, you're great at sewing, keep sewing. But it was like instead, it was like interpreted by Shiki as you can't design clothing because you suck at it. So.
yeah. So the red skull pin that we have to kind of bring to the top of the charts by using it in fights here. We have to do a 3-chain in each of 2 screens. It has this negative side effect of making us move extremely slowly. So our slash pin Masamune is not going to be super, super valuable here. We're going to be trying to hope, again, for stuff that we can throw with Psychokinesis and making good use of fusions to just kind of deal with this pin that's hampering our movement. It's actually kind of funny because you can still input your slashes on enemies that are far away, but Neku kind of just like slashes at nothing and can't really dash to them.
Yeah, he takes like a half step forward, and normally he would
He
just
just kinda
teleport
like,
to them.
Talk about seamless.
So yeah, these are some of the most annoying fights in the game, just because of that handicap that we have.
I still haven't gotten a freaking car.
Yeah, this is absurdly bad. I think there might be a truck off screen. No, that's a cone. Never mind.
Yep.
We're working on doing some branding here. Do you think we could get some donations in?
Yeah, definitely.
Here it comes.
Yeah, $25 from Augen Drocker. Best of luck to Ghoul and Oro. Let's hope your run will turn out better than your travels to the Village Inn yesterday. Shout out to all of the staff and volunteers that are making this amazing week possible. RPG Limit Break is a fantastic event. So for those unaware, Ghoul went to the wrong Village Inn yesterday for a meetup we were going to have.
In my defense, every single like Village Inn in the entire like city of Salt Lake City is on the exact same like pattern of street naming. It's direction, number, street.
That's Salt Lake City for you.
That's how it's done.
I'm a little salty.
We have $10.54 from Sharky. The soundtrack makes me feel like I'm watching an anime Tony Hawk RPG. Really enjoying the run. Shoutouts to the couch.
Hey, Sharky.
That's a pretty good approximation. I can get behind that.
We have $20 from Smith. Here's $20 for adding a new game to my have to buy sometime this year list.
So thankfully, when we go up to the 104 building area, yo, we got a car. Let's
Heck
go.
yeah.
Good is gone.
And the car's gone. I hope that guy has insurance.
See, it's actually kind of interesting. The world we're in right now is called the Underground. The actual real world is called the Real Ground. And the things we do have been influencing the people in the Real Ground. So if you think about the lore, we actually are influencing the actual vehicles that are being harmed in the making of this fight here.
Actual vehicles were harming the production of this movie. I'm sorry.
Who's next?
Burn, burn, burn.
Yeah, you got it.
I got it burned, but I should have done that a lot sooner. I should be fine. I've got swipes.
Here it comes. Talk about seamless.
I think that's the third fight. So now we've done that. The red skull pin is taking off like a storm, and people are going to actually like notice the advertisement that shows up on the 104 building now. Since normally people that are walking across the street just look at their feet or don't pay attention. They're on their phones. They got headphones in. They're taking after Neku. Also, shout out to the fact that Neku was wearing Bluetooth headphones in 2007. Doesn't even have an iPod. It's got a flip phone, which actually is relatively common in Japan even today. But
And he's somehow not causing Joy-Con interference with his own game.
yeah, thankfully.
It's pretty impressive.
So yeah, it works out. Beyblade Yugi is like showing off how awesome his new pin is, and everyone else is like super happy with their pins. We find out that Eri misunderstood, or Shiki misunderstood Eri, so she's like, I really need to get back so I can, apologize and go hug my best friend again. And Neku's like, you got this. And Beat's like, all right, I'm tired of hiding. Let's go, even though I can't do anything.
So we're on to the last day of week 1, which is going to be pretty much just a couple bosses. We're going to have to do one chain of 3 noise to clear our first wall, and then we're going to get 2 bosses right after one another, and then that's the end of week 1.
So day 7 almost always, or basically has the same mission every time. It's go defeat the Game Master. We find out that Beat's an idiot, which of course he is. So we have to finish the game before he gets killed. So we're going to go run over here, and while I'm doing this, I'm going to go in here. I'm going to put my poison bones back over that because I don't want to deal with that. I'm going to double check my food. Good thing I did. And we're going to put our level back to level 1. So you'll notice that pink guy, if you're used to the DS version or even the iOS version, you're like, what the heck is that guy doing there? He is exclusive to this version. He is kind of the gatekeeper to the new Switch exclusive content.
There's one of those Purple Reapers per week of the main campaign, and by defeating all of them, you unlock access to a new day, which is sort of a post-game scenario that sadly you won't be seeing today, but it's an incentive for you to pick up the game for yourself and definitely check it out, so definitely do that.
Yeah, it's actually like, I was pleasantly surprised. I don't like some of the new characters, but like a lot of the combat is actually balanced for this version of the game, which is really cool.
This won't be hard.
And it kind of plays out as an entrance randomizer, which is really funny to see.
Here it comes.
We have $5 from RPD234. Hey Ghoul, when's the next Initial D stream?
Next April 1st, probably. I had so much fun with that. So, I did a April Fool stream this year where I just streamed Mario Kart 8 in black and white and just blasted Eurobeat and pretended I was playing Initial D. One of the most fun streams I've ever had. I totally encourage it to anyone else that wants to do it.
Here it comes.
So one really annoying thing we didn't mention about the Ravens is that they'll actually steal Neku's pins if they hit him, and it's completely random which one they take, and that completely shuts off the use of that pin. And that can get really annoying depending on which one they take. Shiki's doing a lot of the heavy lifting in these fights anyway, but it still is really clunky when you're trying to do an action for a pin and you realize that it's gone. Like we said, there's a lot to pay attention to, and it's easy to miss something like that.
That's where a lot of the tech skill in this run comes from, is just managing to work with both Shiki's or your other partner's cooldowns while looking at your own cooldowns, worrying about your positioning, especially with the next partner we have, because then both characters' positioning matters. One thing we didn't mention, actually, is that your partner, even in co-op mode, does not have a hurt box. You can't take damage with them, which is kind of convenient. I don't know why that is, but it is a thing.
We also just had our first pin evolution there, so we got to see a bit of that, and that was an upgrade to Love Me Tether. So we're going to get to have multiple chains on screen, which is pretty handy.
All right. So don't blink on this boss once he shows up or you'll miss the fight.
I mean, you have 26 seconds of fusion. That's a pretty long blink.
Hey, you got another car. Or is this one guaranteed?
It's pretty common.
Yeah, I think this one happens pretty often.
Here it comes.
So this boss kind of flies around on the top screen and briefly swoops down to the actual main screen. And it's not vulnerable for very long, so we're just going to use a fusion. And like we said earlier, these kind of bosses don't really have that much HP, so this fusion's just going to one-shot it. We don't really have to do super well on the minigame either.
Yeah.
Would it be okay to throw some donations in?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Ready to die.
Nothing at the moment, but quick update on the soundtrack choice. Final Remix has made a little bit of progress, but still $150 behind original. So if you want to hear Final Remix at some point, get your donations in.
I believe Final Remix's soundtrack is Ouro's favorite.
Yes.
Yeah, that is Ouro's donation choice.
That's how it's done.
Google is stacking the donations for him, apparently.
He just wants to make sure his is heard and only his.
It's okay. We'll get there by the time I do my full
You
segment.
know, let's let it catch up. Change my donation incentive if any new ones come into Final Remix. I got to give Ouro a little bit of catch-up space.
All right, thanks. I appreciate it.
So let's get those in. Let's hear the Final Remix version of the soundtrack at least a little bit. I get to play with my soundtrack, let Ouro play with his.
So I don't think we actually touched on how we're splitting this run up. So Ghoul's taking the whole first week of one player, two controller by himself. On week 2, we're going to be full co-oping it. And then on the third week, I'm going to be taking over for everything. So
One more thing for that to do.
I'll get to join in on the fun here in a second. So we have one more fight on this week, which is with Ovis Cantus, the GM of the first week. And he's basically the Gordon Ramsay / Guy Fieri of Shibuya.
If you fuse the two, that's what you'd get. He's got like... I feel like Guy Fieri could rock dreadlocks and it would look okay.
Every single one of the Game Masters kind of has their personality quirk, and this guy's a huge food buff, as you're going to hear with his dialogue during the fight.
He's going to cook the pudding of our doom. So I can do this fight at level 1. I've done it before. It's kind of scary, a little bit risky, and a little bit slower. So we're going to go ahead and just do this on max level.
So an interesting thing I had happen to me in one of my runs of this, when I was doing this fight on level 1, was I used a fusion as I died, and the fusion killed the boss, but I also died at the same time, and it soft locked me on the game over screen. I couldn't select anything. It just said game over, and it was just done. So I would not recommend trying to use fusions as you are literally dying.
So you're saying it was the truest game over.
Yes, it's permanent.
Thankfully, this game has a very generous autosave system, which is nice for a marathon like this, provided we don't do something like horrendous. Because there are actually a couple points in this game. This port has some issues. Some points, I think it might be because we actually fight the faster than the game could expect us to. But there are some points that are a little bit scary, especially in the final week, where things can go very wrong, and we'll just have to like literally close the game to load the fight. Didn't get stunned at least.
That was still a pretty good fight.
Yeah, that was really good. Alright, I gotta take my handcuff off and pass the controller to Ouro. So you see right there, like, I did take half my health bar. I would have died if I did it on level 1, but I also would have played a lot safer. So a good time for that fight is like a 55, 58. It was a 104. It's totally acceptable.
Anything other 110 is usually pretty okay.
And especially because like you don't really control how fast that fight goes sometimes, because he'll say like time for a taste test, and when he does that, Neku just can't damage him anymore.
Which completely resets your sync meter, unfortunately.
Which weirdly in the DS version, Shiki couldn't damage him either. It was like it would just be like 10 seconds, you just couldn't do anything. And if you used a pin, it would actually consume every charge of that pin. It would go on cooldown immediately. That doesn't happen on this version either, I guess, because it feels really bad when you're like one damage dealer and you lose everything as soon as you do it. I don't know. Some of the changes they made for this version are a little bit weird. Again, if you have a chance, I 100% recommend checking out the DS version. Like every version of this game has its own little pluses and minuses. Again,
yeah, really whatever you have access to, you really can't go wrong with any version of this game. They all have their quirks, but they're all the same way of experiencing the same great story, so.
Yeah.
And this was like one of the first games I played as a kid that really proved to me that game stories were worth caring about, and this was probably the first one that really like actually meant something to me.
Yeah, the DS version of this game is also funny because it used a larger size cartridge than was normal for the time on DS, and literally over half of it is music. And it's still compressed like crazily. So like, one of the best things about this version of the game actually is the fact that the music is uncompressed, the sprite work is redone, and it's gorgeous in HD. So this is our next partner. This is Joshua, who you can probably see on the couch behind us somewhere.
Totally not you, Narukami.
Nah, definitely not. So Joshua is, like, again, he's a step up as far as difficulty goes. He's not nearly as good as Shiki, especially in this version. For some reason, the first fight you do with each partner has to be done in solo mode, but it'll automatically swap us over to co-op right here. Joshua's main motion is a downward drop. You kind of do this, and then it'll just acme drop, like pretend it's some like guys like lifting a piano above people and then accidentally dropping it like it's in a cartoon. His second pin is what we call the Tinder, because you swipe left or right and you do this giant hitbox with a ton of damage. It's really good. It's actually really cool because unlike every other partner, it means that Joshua's positioning is super important. Every other partner, you just kind of do their motions and they'll like teleport to him. But Joshua in particular, it's very important to get him in the right position to use Tinder properly. And then his last attack is what we call Sexy J, since it uses the same type of motion as a pin called Sexy D or Sexy Plus, depending on which one you have. And that attack is pretty terrible, so like the main thing you'll watch me do as I'm playing Joshua is I'm going to focus on my positioning to use Tinder properly.
Don't want to look at the Pokedex thing.
It's edible.
I forgot to turn the cursor sensitivity on. So I play on sensitivity 1, so cursor was flying away from me a little bit more than I'm used to.
You also probably want to redo your inventory
Yes.
for Neku while you're at it. So, but
It'll have to do.
I put my items kind of wherever, but he has a set location he keeps everything in.
I like to have it match between the two characters just for consistency's sake.
1, 2, 3. Tell me who you are.
I'm not that picky. I just throw it where I can. So this is the tutorial for Joshua's attack. Basically, you just go full valve mode and fail to count to 3.
You're good as gone.
How's my aim?
Come on. Come on.
It's going to be really fun because there's one fight where that's actually like important, and we're going to have to count to 3 together. Twitch chat, whenever we do that, I encourage you to count along with us and try to, with all of your friends in the RPG Limit Break chat, count to 3 together without accidentally counting 1, 2, 2, you know, 1, 3, 2, something like that. I'm sure it'll go really well.
It's also a bit of a test as to whether some of the numbers in the fusion minigame are backwards, so it's a good test of whether you know what your numbers look like.
Yep. So this is Sho. This is everybody's favorite bad guy in the, over the course of the game. So the previous guy was Gordon Ramsay fused with the Guy Fieri. This is just that math nerd that you had as a friend in high school that just won't shut up about how awesome Sokotoa is.
How's my aim?
This boss is really annoying because he's completely invulnerable from the front and he can turn around at any moment. So we're just going to sandwich him, and I entered the wrong way. Okay.
How's my aim?
Aim is not very good, Joshua.
Yeah, kind of the best way to handle this fight is to just put one of your characters on either side, and like as soon as he turns around, you just unload and hope he doesn't turn around on you.
Yeah, you just go full BB tag on him. Sandwich him, both of you attack, one of us doesn't have a hurt box. It's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Do we have a moment for some donations?
Oh yeah.
We have $5 from Yoshizilla. Hey Oro and Ghoul, wanted to donate and support you during your run. Good luck, guys, and hello from right behind the couch.
Hey,
LOL.
what's up, Yoshi? Yoshi's the Paper Mario runner. Gonna be right after this, so. At least somebody is.
Is that a joke at me?
I mean, you're still awake, so no. We'll see how long that lasts.
I was gonna say, I have GK's phone number to call him if he's not up in time.
We also have an anonymous $100 donation. Sorry, it wasn't anonymous. I misread that. A $100 donation from Andrew250 with no comment, but thank you so much for your donation.
Thank you, Andrew.
How's the soundtrack bidding war going, by the way?
No updates at this time, but
All right.
I really want to hear what the remix soundtrack sounds like. So please get those in.
I mean, Oro's doing all the menuing now. He let him have his fun, but we need to get some donations in for that, so.
So this next chain coming up is probably one of the most interesting farms in the entire game. It's only going to be 2 fights. One with a small frog noise and one with a small bird noise. But we're going to do this farm on hard because of a drop that we need. And there's actually a certain threshold of drop rate that we want to shoot for. Because the way that drops work in this game is that if you fail a drop on one difficulty, it defaults to the drop on the next difficulty. So we actually want a hard drop on one fight and a normal drop on another. So we want to get a high enough drop rate that we can almost guarantee the hard drop rate on the one fight, but also make sure we have the best chance of failing the hard drop on the next fight and getting the normal drop as well. There is a very tight threshold that has the most optimal statistic value to get that. I spent like an hour one night doing math on this. I just got randomly sidetracked in it.
Yeah, basically, so there's going to be these 2 crowds in the first fight that we're going to have a 9 drop rate exactly for these 2 fights. So we're going to do them on level 2. And we're going to have a 25% chance to fail the crab drops. And if we fail the crab drops on both of them, then we'll get pretty much guaranteed the pop pendulum, which is the pin we need. And then we have a 91% chance of getting tech tight from the birds in the next fight. So it works out really, really well. It's really cool, actually. It's one of my favorite like little mini things that's new to the run. Because this was not done in the DS version ever. And you might also be thinking, like, wait a second, isn't there an easy difficulty? Wouldn't that be a thing? So the category for this is technically any percent normal co-op. And it's any percent normal because every single fight must be fought on normal or higher. You can actually choose to fight on hard mode if you were to so choose. If it were more optimal in other places, we would do it as well. There's one spot we'll go to it. Except there is a single fight in the game that must be done on easy mode for a drop, and there's a specific exception in the rules for it. If you do any other fights other than that fight on easy mode, the run is considered to be invalid. So,
and you're going to see why easy mode isn't really preferred for runs when we actually do that fight too. It makes it absurdly easy. Okay, we're at 9 at level 1. Sometimes you have an extra level here and you need to be at level 2, so.
You get to do
yeah,
the fight.
I forgot I was thinking of a different day on a different wall. So we're looking for a frog and a bird. We want to start with the frog. So we're looking for a very specific enemy here called Crocinisamps, which is a green crab with a really large claw, a big meaty claw, if you will. And we actually got it first try, so that's really, really good.
Our practice run yesterday, it took us literally.
It was like 5 or 6 tries, yeah. It was
like
really bad.
It's like a coin flip.
And it looks like we got it. We got the... You can actually see which drop you get based on the color of the pin you get.
If you get a drop, yeah, they'll drop a pin in the color. Yellow is hard.
Hard. Blue is normal, and green is easy when we get to that point. So these green serpent enemies are actually really annoying because they can just go temporarily invulnerable during that spin. And we just can't interact with them in any way, shape, or form.
So hopefully we got at least 2 Tektite there as well. I think we did.
We got 3 and 2 pop pendulums. So
it's very hard to not get the Tektite. There's always going to be 3 birds in that second fight, and you have to fail it on 2 of them. It's a 90% drop. So
we're going to immediately switch back to normal because we don't have to do far harder fights than we have to. We're also going to pick up a fusion boost sticker for Joshua. It's actually very important that we reach level 3 fusion for the boss of this week. Because it does a lot more damage when you have extra fusion levels.
So then the wall here, you have to clear both of the yellow noise afflicting people in this area. We know that we need to go to Malco and basically win whatever's happening there, so we're going to find out in a little bit why that is. One of these two yellow noise is the guy kind of having a crisis, like, oh my god, I don't know if my pins are good enough. Basically, he's your classic O2 warrior, like, oh my gosh, is it really worth continuing? And we're going to help him realize that, yeah, it is worth keeping at it. If you see his actual pins that he uses when he plays, you can understand why he's not doing very well in tournaments, but...
Some people have to be low-tier warriors, okay?
How's my aim?
Yeah, but like, there's a difference between being a low-tier warrior and literally playing with 2 stocks and everyone else is playing with 6.
That was nothing.
So he's got to go get some Scarletite. So something we didn't mention is that for every day in the story that you play through, you get an item called a Scarletite. And it's a pin that if you are playing casually, do not waste them. Grinding these later on is the most annoying, frustrating thing ever, and you don't realize how hard it is to get them until you actually are out of them, and you need 3 more to actually buy the empty the hollow leg sticker, which lets you eat as much as you want, or the higher difficulty. So buy the fusion boosts, buy the extra pin slots, and buy the other stuff. And then if you want to grind for the other Scarletites, you can do that later.
So now we're introduced to Taboo Noise. Unfortunately, Neku does basically nothing to these. Joshua has to do most of the work here, so I'm going to kind of just be building sync, and that's most of what Neku's going to be doing.
So in the DS version, it was basically if you had the light puck, you did full damage. Otherwise, you did significantly reduced. And basically, in this version, it's Joshua does full damage and Neku does nothing. It's one of those things that's annoying in a run because Neku isn't completely negligible. He still does damage, but it's so much less than Joshua that it's kind of annoying. So that's right, I get to carry you.
Yep.
Pin deck. Yep. All right, so we got to get prepped up for Tin Pin Slammer, which is basically Yu-Gi-Oh meets Beyblade. So we're gonna equip the best possible pin. We're not even just gonna win. We're gonna BM them and we're gonna beat them all with a 1 yen pin. They got all their fancy customized tricked out pins, and we're gonna beat them with the most common easy pin in the game. So
we're gonna hope that my controller doesn't mess up here and just fling the pin right off the screen.
Yeah, I'm sure we're fine. So here's Yugi. He's gonna show off how to play and show off a couple Dark Magicians and things like that. So all right. Yeah. So this is a tutorial, but we're gonna try to win, of course.
Okay, that's fine.
Bluetooth interference is so difficult, isn't it? That's all right. That's all right. We got the idea. We're speedrunners. We know how to do this, right? So not a big deal. That's enough. We got the idea. Run into the other pin, knock them off. You got special abilities. All right, here we go. This is when it matters.
We got this.
Neku versus the other guy. All right, come on, let's go. Let's go. Well,
I gave it my best.
Yoshi, you ready to go? The run's over. We just lost. Oh wait, he cheated. We're good. All right. That's
You actually don't have to win any of these. We actually specifically use the 1 yen pin because it doesn't have any sort of built-in safeties. A lot of the other pins will kind of have a little hand that pushes you back on if you fall off. So it's actually the best to just run off.
Yeah, you always get them because it drops from the little tadpoles that spawn with frogs. You almost always have a couple of them. You just throw one on one of your pin decks. Anytime you run through Tin Pin Slammer, you'll throw on that deck, and you'll just instantly throw yourself off. There is a potential route in the future that will involve us winning one of those, which will be really funny. But that hasn't been fully rooted or tested yet. Again, it's very hard to know sometimes what the marginal differences of stuff are. And there are downsides and upsides to that route. You'll see actually, we'll talk about it more when we get to it later. But
yeah, you'll actually see kind of a different version of the strat we'd be potentially going for in the post-game boss rush.
So here's Sho. Every time he talks, we get a headache. It's clearly that he's just too intelligent for us. Math. Calling us the factoring hectopascals and talking about how Zeta slow we are.
So now I see Beat here. Since he was left all alone on the first week, his only choice to stay alive was to end up becoming a Reaper. So he's going to be kind of messing with us for the rest of this week.
Right. So when we finish the first week, we get to the end of the game, and we beat the GM, and there's 3 players alive at the end, and so the guy in charge of all the Reapers comes out, congratulates us, good job, but only one person gets to be reincarnated for this version of the game, and the person with the highest score was Shiki. So she gets to be reincarnated, but unfortunately for her, she is now our most precious object. So we get most of our memory returned to us. We don't know why we don't have all of our memory. Like, we don't know why we died. Natural Puppy last, or was it?
No, it was nowhere.
I saw the wins. I was like, uh-oh.
I would have liked to see it top 3.
So she's stuck in limbo while we play the game again. If we fail, she's also dead, so that's really nice. And Beat's decision was he's going to become a Reaper, which is the other option you can choose other than being reincarnated or re-entering the game.
Got $50 from Anonymous. Sitting in my cube at work, watching the run, the art of this game speaks to me almost as much as the music. Let's hear that sweet, sweet remix. We also have $15 from Kirby Masta, sitting right here behind the couch.
Hi, Kirby.
Nerd donating behind the couch. I'm donating for the remix soundtrack since who could possibly resist this boyish heartthrob? Good luck to both you nerds, and I want to ask, Ghoul, when are you speedrunning the Persona dancing series?
Oh, God.
Mole has actually done that.
And with that, we're only $83 away from hearing that glorious final remix soundtrack. So please get your donations in.
So the reason I winced there a couple screens away is there's a wall that we're going to need to clear by having a certain brand called Natural Puppy at the top of the charts. And like I said before, the brands are sort of random, so there's a chance that you just have that wall able to be cleared immediately. And we're going to have to do a little bit of extra menuing and a couple extra fights in order to get it to the top. So if we don't have to do that, that's ideal, but unfortunately we didn't get lucky, so we're going to have to do those couple fights.
Have fun, Nekdu.
So we're focusing the Serpent enemy first just because it can go invulnerable, and we don't really want to deal with that if we can help it. That was really nice.
That was a really good chain. Sometimes chains are like the best thing ever, and then sometimes they do literally nothing.
They kind of just go wherever they want to, it seems like.
Especially because like the motion for it overlaps with the shockwave motion, so like sometimes you'll just not get it to come out, and then like it'll come out like it'll do like the opposite direction of what you want. It does do some useful stuff because on top of being just a really active hitbox, it does like kind of slide enemies along it a little bit. They'll pop out sometimes, but it's really useful in a couple specific instances because we can kind of bring enemies out of corners. And this game, again, it's a very lovable game, but it's not always the best as far as reading your inputs and stuff. And when enemies are in corners, the game is really, really bad about ignoring you when you want to actually use attacks and it'll try to move you instead. Since again, when this game was a touchscreen game, every single action was with the stylus, so you'd have to the game differentiating between like attacks and moving and everything else didn't always work very well. Again, this game, it's super unique, it's so weird, it's so cool, but man, there are points where it's just like to wish so much that they would just let you use buttons sometimes. So we're talking to Mr. H, who again has kind of helped us a little bit as we've gone along. He kept Beat from dying during week 1. He's also apparently friends with Joshua, as we find out, and he installed a tracker onto Joshua's phone. That's man, you really love hearing him talk about beans, don't you?
Coffee is pretty great.
Yeah, definitely drank like 2 glasses of that before the run.
I don't want to talk about how much coffee I've had.
I mean, it's not as much as Palmer, so you're okay. I'm pretty sure that guy just has coffee running through his veins at this point. Like,
He's asleep right now. I've got him beat today.
wait, he's asleep?
Yeah.
How could that guy ever sleep? Okay.
You gotta crash eventually.
Yeah, so we talked to Mr. H. He kind of tells us a little bit of things, and we're like, okay, what does this tracker actually do? He's like, you should just ask Joshua. Joshua will tell you. And we're like, yeah, we're not getting a straight answer from Joshua. So we have no idea what this tracker is actually looking for.
Yeah, Joshua has really roundabout, turdish ways of answering everything. He's just like, no, Naku, you can't know things.
Yeah, Joshua is like my favorite character in the game. He's just super fun. He's got like, he's really snarky. He's a total jerk. He's in the best possible way. Also, I recommend that if there are any small children nearby, you might want to like cover their ears.
So this fight we don't actually have to win. There's a few beat fights throughout the course of week 2 that we have to do, and we basically just have to stall and not die. These fights are just on a timer, so. If you have any more donations to cover up Beat's swearing, you can go ahead.
How's my aim?
Nothing at the moment, but we can keep talking. There's nothing going on in the game right now. They're not saying anything at all. Ghoul, how's your day been?
It's not bad. I'm not usually up at this hour unless it's because I haven't slept at all, but we're making it work. So yeah, Beat is he was given a direct mission from kind of the head of Reapers, like, hey, go kill your previous friend, and show how you're actually like a good Reaper. And he's like gonna come up, like, fight us, and then he's like, you guys suck, and he walks off because that's totally like what he's thinking.
Thank you.
And then since we need to get Natural Puppy up to #1 inside the Scramble Crossing, we need to go buy some Natural Puppy gear. So we buy basically the cheapest set we can. We buy a shirt and a pair of pants. Thankfully, this fight's actually relatively easy because 2 of our pins that we use normally, our Force Rounds pin and the chain, are already Natural Puppy branded. So all we have to do is swap 2 pins over and then change all of our equipment, and we're good.
Focus.
So he's going to throw those over and then take off everything else. We're going to have to do 2 fights here. Probably, if it's like really low on the list, like there's 13, if it's like 12th and we don't know it, because we can only see top 3 and then the bottom one, then it might take a 3rd fight, but we'll just double check before we
Put our other stuff back on.
yeah. What?
Well, it might have slipped its way back to the bottom.
It did slip its way back to the bottom. Never mind, we got to do 3 fights.
Marathon luck. So this 4th pin that I have on called Natural Magnum is actually really nice to use when I'm not having to deal with worrying about Joshua as well, because you have to swipe across Neku in a very specific direction to aim them, and it's really awful to use when you're doing 1-player 2 controller.
Yeah. It's basically the same motion as the Tinder pin for Joshua, except it's not.
It cares about more than just left and right.
You see, like, again, how big the hitbox is.
How's my aim? Good work.
One kind of funny thing about the Acme pin, the first one that Joshua kind of spams, is if you continue to use it, you drop bigger and bigger things as time goes on. So you'll start off dropping like traffic cones, and then by the end, you're dropping like full cars. He's gonna go in. Oh, he's not gonna go in full. Thank you. So like
Yeah,
now
that was
we're
a fight.
at the vending machines. If I'd gone any further, it would have been like cars and trucks. And it actually changes the size of the hitbox too, which is kind of funny.
That's how it's done.
All right, so we'll see where we're at. We'll give some more ice cream to Neku. Oh my god.
Wow, that
So
actually
we-
means 2 more fights.
Yeah.
That is something. Okay.
It's edible.
That's really unlucky.
Open up your senses.
And of course, there's no enemies nearby, because why would there be enemies nearby?
Focus.
Something we didn't mention is that apparently they actually intended, so whenever we were doing the scan to look for noise, we're also able to read people's minds. And it was actually a feature that was added relatively late development, and they were going to actually expand on it a lot. Kind of ran out of time while they were developing, so it's not really like even like that impactful for the story, but it's kind of a fun little tidbit about this game. Section J of the car, just whack the crap with it.
Rest in peace.
Do you have any donations?
Have
right now?
fun, Neku. How's my aim?
I'm not used to dealing with someone else controlling the camera while I'm fighting. Something to note is if enemies get stuck in that top right corner, it's like really hard to hit them without accidentally hitting the fusion pin, which is just a 26-second time loss every time you do it. And again, this game loves to eat inputs. Oh my god, okay. He was trying to hide behind it. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah, it's annoying when you try to use the chain on multiple enemies like that, is a lot of times it'll just knock them out. You're trying to be efficient and it just kind of says no. Okay, we got there.
We got it. Okay, good. So now we're going to throw back on our gear, and thankfully at this point they both get the same set of gear. So it's going to be the knit casket, biker jacket, purple sneaks, and the spike choker.
Yeah.
Again, you can see like we're getting plus 23 attack on Neku, and his base attack is only 10. And in this version of the game, the most important actual like stat for how your damage scales is just your attack stat. So we're basically tripling our attack using just equipment. Again, like the individual like points of attack are kind of finicky. It's hard to know how useful they are, but you can definitely see a difference once you start getting into bigger and bigger attack numbers. And you'll see later on, we're going to be able to add like plus 60 by the end of this run to attack using just equipment, which is a huge, huge, huge bonus to damage. So we get to Dogenzaka, and the radar is going crazy. And the weird thing is that it's going crazy for a ramen bar. And this place kind of popped up overnight, and our marketing friend that was terrible at his job now has the hippest ramen shop in the world. Like, look at this line. And the problem is we're invisible to normal people when we're not inside of shops. So we can't wait in line. We keep getting kicked out every time we go in. So we're going to get to the bottom of what's going on with this ramen shop. But to do that, we need to make it less popular so that we can actually go see what's going on. So we're going to go to our old buddy, Ken, and we're going to like see that he's like really beat up over the fact that his bar is losing to this new upstart Shadow Ramen. Also, these jellyfish are annoying because they can duplicate themselves if you let them, and you can end up with like a bunch of extras on screen.
They're also airborne enemies, as we talked about earlier. This is fun.
Yeah.
Got 10. Sorry, we got $10 from Joshua? Question mark. How's my aim? Does it wow you?
How's my aim? How's my aim? How's my aim? It's terrible. The hitbox on some of Joshua's attacks is like does not match the actual animation at all. Outside of Tinder, which is 6 times bigger than the actual animation for some reason.
Yeah, for his tapping pin that drops stuff from the sky, you kind of have to aim a good bit lower than where you actually want it to land.
So yeah, now Makoto's coming over here to Ken, and he's rubbing it in his face like, haha, like, I just showed up on the like 2 doors down like a day ago, and I already have lines out the door. And Ken's like, well, I'm trying a new type of ramen, the Big Catch. That's got a giant fish and cheese in it, so I'm sure that'll bring the people in. And
Captain Crunch's Oops All Fish.
it's kind of funny because like Neku's like, well, it actually tastes pretty good, but why would anybody possibly order this? So in the meantime, Ken's like, okay, what possibly is gonna get the people back in? And we're like, okay, we're gonna go to Shadow Ramen. We're gonna like find out how to like Inception Ken to be good again. So right here, this is the Prince of Shibuya, and he has his blog, which is F Everything. Which actually has a really different context now, now that I think about it. And he's been blogging about this place nonstop and how amazing it is. The ramen comes with a literal steak on top of it. It's like $50. The chefs are dancing. It's this really cool place. And then we go over here and we find out that he's getting paid by Makoto, who learned about marketing somehow in like over the weekend. Must have like
this is that same like timid guy that we were helping out with marketing in, like 2 days ago.
He bought Dummy's Guide for Marketing in the meantime. And like, so he's gotten really good, and he's really torn up because like it's good ramen, but it doesn't remind him of why ramen is amazing in the first place.
It isn't like his mom used to make.
Yeah. So he's really conflicted, and we're gonna defeat the noise that kind of help him get over his afflictions.
How's my aim?
And when we do this, we're gonna get the meme for simple, because you just want like a simple, normal, basic bowl of ramen. And right there, you're going to see that our Masamune is actually evolving to a Nenakiri. It's going to evolve one more time over the course of the run, which is really nice, actually, because it means that we don't have to change it, and it's going to actually kind of keep up in DPS as the run continues.
Yeah, we'll place it at the very, very end, but we're going to see it for basically the rest of the run. It's going to be in that slot.
Yeah, really, our main 3 damage pins are kind of cool because they all evolve over time, and they actually keep up over the course of the run, so we don't really have to worry too much about our damage pins as we go along. And again, these are also, there are pins that would be like potentially good, especially the ones that are used in the DS run. They're called burst rounds. And the motion for that is it's a press motion, meaning you hold the button down over it, but it's press empty space. And the problem is this version of the game does not register presses very well, especially with the Joy-Cons, because it says, oh, you're moving, so you're not pressing anymore. And it's annoying because burst rounds, if you could use them, would actually probably be among the best pins we could use. I think we'd probably use them in the root, actually. But even though they do very good damage, they're just so hard to consistently use that we just don't bother with them because the damage difference is negligible, and if you just fail a burst round shot, you are wasting your time. Funnily enough, the Japanese version of this game has a very different balance set than the US version. So the DS speedrun, you use burst rounds as your main source of damage because it has there's a hidden stat for every pin called efficiency, which is how efficient it is at converting its attack stat into damage it does. And when you combine that with the puck multiplier, you get some really big numbers. And burst rounds have a 250% pin efficiency. It's the highest in the game, or one of the highest in the game. So there might be one other that's higher. In the Japanese version, it's a pin efficiency of 60. So not only is like, the idea behind efficiency is that like if a pin is hard to use, like say draw a circle over empty space, it's got a very high efficiency. But if it's like super easy to use, like say the slash pins, it's going to have a very low efficiency because you're able to spam it, use it a bunch, and use it for different things. And I've done like testing on the Japanese version, and the route just straight up does not work as it is in the Japanese version because the pin efficiency is so different that you're doing 5 times less damage. So this is the fight that we have the allowance in the rules for easy difficulty. We have to fight a single Raven, and you're going to see immediately we're going to basically two-shot these guys. And again, this is why we play on normal. It just it feels a lot better. The way I always do it, like describe it, is that like it lets you kind of play what we love about the casual game, you know, as far as difficulty and experience, while also still going fast and still remembering what's great about the game as we go through. And easy mode just really wouldn't have that same feel for us, unfortunately. So basically every runner does normal difficulty, but for that fight in particular, you can't really. Even if we wanted to, I don't know if you can fail the normal drop into the easy drop, and if we did, that would be really stupid to just like intentionally have to like do a fight until we failed the normal drop. So there's a specific allowance in the rules, since that's the intended way to do that anyway, even if you're like playing the game on normal difficulty the whole time.
So the requirement for this wall is just a 4-chain, and we got really
That's
bad luck on brands.
So we haven't mentioned it, but the different pins, like the way where trends matter is you get a damage multiplier on pins based on how popular that brand is inside that specific region of Shibuya. And if it's unpopular, like Natural Puppy is in this area, you do 50% damage with it. If it's a very popular pin, you can do, I believe, double, and then it's like 50%, 20% if you're second or third.
Good work, Deku.
Again, we can't really control it. We just kind of have to deal with it. But in general, it's not a huge deal, even if it is, because a lot of our damage does come from Joshua anyway. And he can, focus on using Shockwave on cooldown instead of actually using the chain or force round.
How's my aim?
With the barrier.
That was nothing.
So to get past this gate, we have to do a 4-chain. I think it's like the only 4-chain that's required in the run.
I think so, yeah.
Have fun.
Again, one of the fun things about Joshua, it's actually like kind of annoying as well. In this version of the game, Joshua is only in his base state for the first couple weeks of the game, or a couple days of his week, and we can't actually make him go back into this form. So if you want to practice this part of the run, you actually have to just start a new file and play to this point of the game. And it's kind of unfortunate because like this is my favorite version of Joshua to play with in this version, which is funny because on the DS version, he is completely terrible until he actually transforms. But in this version, it's really fun to play with him because, again, he's the only partner character where your positioning really matters. You want to make sure that you're kind of in between as many enemies as possible to, maximize the use of the giant hitbox on Tinder. So this is probably one of the more annoying days. So we know we need to go, we're still looking for what the tracker's looking for. And we go here, and we talk, 777's like, oh, hey, you guys helped us out earlier. Why don't you help us find our mic? And we're like, well, we really don't want to. I'm sure you can take care of it. He's like, no, you're going to help us with your mic. So he has his buddy Tenho set up a wall, since Tenho's a wall reaper, and we're going to help them find their mic for their band. It's a special mic. It kind of symbolized them rebelling and the rebellious spirit that comes with being a punk rock band in Shibuya.
It has wings on it.
Yeah, of course. It drank a Red Bull, of course. Red Bull.
An edgy Red Bull.
So we do also find out at one point that even though 777 is famous in the real ground, he is actually a Reaper, which is why we can talk to him. Because again, to normal people, the underground players can't be seen because we're dead. But Reapers actually can kind of exist in both planes at once. So it's actually mentioned in some of the post-game files if you go through and do all of the little mini tasks the game gives you to unlock extra story bits that the Reaper bosses don't really care if you have a full-time job or whatever if you're a Reaper as well. As long as you just kind of do your Reaper duties, you can become the most famous punk rocker. Todd Rucker. Okay. Anyway.
Music guy.
It's early. So we're also going to meet Now and her friend, who I cannot remember his name as of right now. And they're the people that actually won Tin Pin Slammer for us with a little bit of assist from Joshua, making sure that Yugi's deck was missing one piece of Exodia. And he's like, haha, I have it. Wait, where's the left arm? And they're like, hey, we won this pin, and we can't use it, so you should totally take it. And we're going to take it, and we're going to sell it, because that's what's most useful for us. We're also going to sell for a bunch of other money. So we're up to 60K. We're actually doing pretty good on money, considering how we started out, which makes sense, because we were only, like, 8K behind.
Hi there.
So we're going to buy some cheap Muskratus gear. This is to clear a wall later on in the game. We're going to go to Tiger Pumps. We're going to buy 2 red Mohawk sets again. Just a +7. Flat +7 to attack in our accessory slot, which for this point is really good. And we need to buy something to go with our Knit Casquette, because there's a D&B wall we're going to have to clear later on, which is why he equipped all of the D&B pins that he did right there for probably the most frustrating point in the game in a speedrun setting, because D&B pins are kind of terrible in this version of the game. Funnily enough, it's the exact opposite on the DS run, because on the DS run, you actually use a pin called Sexy D at this point anyway, because, again, the DS run is entirely focused on light puck passing, and that particular pin, as soon as any single hit lands, the puck is passed. So you use it to pass the puck very quickly, and then as soon as your high DPS pins come off cooldown, you would use them anyway. So it's not as big a deal on the DS run, outside of the fact that you're losing your puck passing gear, since you need to equip a set of D&D clothing. But so right here, we're going to talk to, I forget his name, I think it's Benji, or BJ.
BJ, yeah.
And we used the second option, and he's like, oh yeah, I was, doing this at that time, and we're like, haha, we have a camera that takes pictures of the past, and you were clearly in the phone booth at this time. And he's like, well, I was in the phone booth. He's like, yeah, that's also known as the phone booth of love, so who's the lucky lady you were calling? And he's like, he's like really mad because the lady, his lady friend completely dumps him. It's like, who's this weird guy calling me, even though he's the most famous rock star in Shibuya? And the best part about it is Neku at the end's like, remind me not to get on your bad side, Joshua, because like he totally like.
He's just very condescending and smug about almost everything.
He is the best type of turd, for lack of a better term.
I think the word you're looking for is smug.
Yeah, he's a smug turd. We'll combine the two.
It's like a poop emoji, but like with a smug face on it.
So we have to go through. We're going full Phoenix right. We're presenting our evidence, and so, yeah, we need to play cornered. So we show him like, oh hey, BJ was in the phone booth. We're like, BJ did it. We're like, no, wasn't BJ. It was actually
objection.
Yeah, objection. Hold it. And so we're gonna explain it was a whole misunderstanding, and Tenho was hating that the group was fighting over who got to sing, because BJ wanted to sing, and 777's like, well, why would you get to sing? I'm the vocalist. You're just the guitarist. They're getting too big. They're at that point of a band where creativity matters, and
all this constant fighting is tearing us apart.
And so Tenho does his best to try to hide the mic and try to hope that they rediscover what brought them together as a band in the first place. And it actually works, which is kind of cute. But the Grim Keeper, or Show, sees the mic and is like, dude, these Reaper wings are just what I need to complete my
my
masterpiece.
aesthetic.
So you'll notice that during week 2, you see these giant stacks of stuff, and Show calls them art. It's not really what they are to anyone else, but he's a math nerd. Who knows what those people think?
Actually,
Also, we have another swear-filled beat fight, so feel free to get some donations in.
All right, well, pay no attention once again to what's happening on the screen there. We got $5 from JR Potential. Hi, I'm just donating to say 3 minutes clapping is the best song in the world ends with you.
Especially since on this version they added a live mix of it, which is I think it just adds a filter that sounds like there's a live crowd in the background, but it's in one of the fights. It's super cool.
To help fill the time in between so you can't hear beat, I actually had to hold myself from laughing, because when you're mashing to the text and Minamoto is in the background, he's like, side, it's like, what? Everything was just happening all at once.
Side, cosine, tangent! Yeah, It's funny because like it almost feels like it tries to speed up the sound effect to like match the pace we're mashing. Because again, the text speed in this version of the game, I did a run with the DS route when this game first came out. So I did a casual, like a pseudo casual playthrough with the old route, and then I did like a run with just the DS speedrun route, and I actually got the quote-unquote world record for the game in general just because the text speed in this game is so much faster than it is on DS that even though the route really doesn't work properly on this version of the game, it still was faster. So we're going to go in here. We're going to get a bunch more money. Doing really good on money now, actually.
Yeah.
So go figure.
Food.
So we bought 3 sparkling silvers. That's going to go for another quest. So we haven't really talked about it too much, but there's different ways of buying items. There's shop where you just give them money and they give you the item back, and then there's quest items where you like turn in rare metals or like items or other pins or clothing, and they'll like either upgrade it or like give you like stickers or whatever else normally. And that's going to be really important because there's going to be an accessory on a later week that's very, very high base attack that needs those sparkling silvers to work. So spending the 30,000 on those is definitely worth it. Because again, the way you build in this run is you just stack as much attack as possible. It's a little bit unfortunate because you don't get there's a really satisfying turn on in the DS route where the items and equipment just kind of click, and all of a sudden you can see the route at work, and that doesn't really happen in this version, unfortunately. You just steadily see yourself continue to do more damage and shred enemies faster, which is really.
We pretty fully click week 3, day 3, day 4-ish, but that's still quite a ways out and basically the end of the game at that point.
Yeah, and even then, you can see it, but it's not to the same degree that it is in the DS route. So if you get a chance, I definitely recommend looking at Herediman's DS world record or one of ECAS's old runs. Or RP Priya as well. So right here, we go to the thing, and we keep scanning Joshua, and he's got these weird memories, and we're like, wait a second, where is that memory? And we're like, okay, and we keep hearing from Hanakama, trust your partner, trust your partner, trust your partner. And we're going to find out that we really shouldn't trust our partner right here, because we're about to find out how he died. By the way, I don't think Nomura knows what a gun looks like, because for some reason that's a soda can stuck on the end of something, and what revolver has the
chambers in the middle, and then it's a thing.
So now we're like, we're partnered with the guy that killed us, and it's really funny because the entire next day, Joshua doesn't know that we know, and it's funny because at some point we're going to actually tell him, and he's going to be like, oh, you did know, you little scamp. I can't believe you didn't tell me that you knew that I killed you. So, and we're like, okay, it's just 3 days. I can do this. I just have to hold it together for Shiki's sake. I can do it. I don't need to make him mad. If we can't sync together, we can't fight properly, and we're going to lose, and everything that I've done over these last 2 weeks is going to be for nothing.
Joshua's just one of those characters that everything's a game to him, and he just wants to have fun with it.
He's so great.
So checking trends again here for potential instant wall clear, which again we didn't get. Hopefully we don't have to do 4 fights for this one, but we'll start off with 2 and go from there.
Yeah, so our Reaper friends, and by friends they're basically bad guys, are like, hey, I want to play a game with them. And Uzuki's like, ooh, a game? That sounds fun. And so they're going to set up barriers for us on our way to Mr. H's shop, because our tracker clearly isn't working. We weren't looking for a ramen shop. We weren't looking for, a painting at the end of a wall. And...
no, my car.
How's my aim? How's my aim?
This set of fights is, really important for me to actually do well in, since... he's stuck with all DMB pins. 2 of them are the same, basically. Sexy D and Sexy Plus are both basically Sexy J as far as pick up an item and whack things with it, but not very good in this version. He has Earth Shake, which is just shake on the screen. You'll do a full screen attack that stuns. It's one of your better ones when you have Ice Blow, which is a single hit with a decently long cooldown. Does good damage, but it's not really very good in this version of the game, and we haven't leveled it up at all, so it's... I don't know how I missed that jellyfish on that one. Hopefully that puts DMB at rank 1, so we don't have to worry about it too much.
That's how it's done.
So, yeah, you see all of our pins were level 1 there. Kind of one of the more frustrating sections. Yeah, DMB is number 1, so we're going to equip. our normal pin deck back, which is, or we're actually going to go deck 2, which is our pin deck. We're going to fully gear up a Musratus here because there's a barrier that comes up in a second. We bought the cheapest possible stuff we can to make sure we can get past that barrier. We're going to equip Joshua properly, and we're going to talk to this guy. He's like, okay, cool, DMB's #1. So again, we're going through, we're doing all of these things that Kari has set up for us. And Uzuki, like, halfway through is like, well, this isn't that much fun. We just put up a bunch of gates in front of him. He's like, no, I really want to test these guys because, you know, something's going on with this kid. And she's like, the kid was in last week. He's not that special. She's like, no, not that kid. So Kari senses that something is up with Joshua. And their personalities, like, Uzuki is like the go-getter. She's the, you know, she works hard. She loves, you know, her job of, you know, deleting players. And then Karya is like, oh, I thought you missed.
Yeah, I thought I did too. Also, fun fact, you can actually see Joshua in the cutscene when we get Shiki out as our first partner.
Yeah.
Just very briefly, you can see him just hanging out.
So, yeah, Karya is like, he's like, if he had actually tried by now, he would have been like promoted to Game Master at some point and like been really good, but he hasn't really had the motivation. He'd rather eat a bowl of ramen than actually do his job properly, but he's really good when he does try. Alright, so here we are. We have a 10 notes going to play 10 Pin Slammer. And if you're playing this casually and you want to actually go for time attacks, go ahead and win this. Don't just like do what we do and forfeit it. And if you win this, you get in a pin called 10 Pin Thrift, which is actually, by most estimates, the single best pin in the game. What it does is it has an ability called Sacrifice that puts you into Peril Health at the start, which is 50% on the DS version or 25% on this version. But it gives you 20% bonus attack, defense, and experience on top of also doing that bonus for your attack bids, which is the only way to do that in the entire game. It's really, really good. There are theory routes that use that haven't been fully tested. But you'll see it in the post-game incentive, or the post-run incentive that you guys so generously donated for with the final time attack. That does use 10 Pin Thrift on our little theory crafting that we did.
So this fight, you get pins that on the DS version would be use the mic on the DS, but in this game they were translated to just shaking motions.
Yeah, again, on the DS version of this game is pretty interesting because they tried to use every single feature on the DS. There's a noise that you have to fight by closing the DS and reopening it, and it just instant kills it. There's hints for shouting. They use the in-system timer to check. Oh, hey, you haven't played in a while.
If the DS can do it, this game used it. Except Picto Chat.
For better or for worse sometimes.
I'm picturing some awkward moments on the subway yelling into your DS to do some attacks in this game.
I mean, we were talking about Phoenix Red. It can't be worse than yelling "objection" on the middle of a crowded train. But
I mean, what would be more scary? Hearing someone go "objection" or hearing someone go "ah"?
Fair enough.
Blowing in the microphone works too.
Yeah, you most of the time, like, Speedrun will just blow into it, but it is really funny that you just can yell into it and it'll work.
I remember some games as a kid too. I would just like scratch on the mic with the stylus, and that would work on sometimes too.
Yep. Since the mic was just visible on the front of the DS as well.
So,
Cat.
So what you're telling me is the effect is basically the same as Lunar Dragon Song.
Basically, yeah.
We did just come off the awful games block.
This game does have awful controls at times.
It's like this is like a gradient moving into the normal game territory.
Really quick, we have a $10 donation from Overlord SOS. Weird seeing Ghoul run The World Ends With You with only one controller in his hands. Best of luck to him and Oro with the run.
Yeah, thanks, Sauce. Sauce is a good friend of mine from a long time ago, so always fantastic to hear from you, bud. Hope you're doing well.
What the hell?
Also, disregard beat once again.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no need to be like that.
Yo, man, we in trouble. Beat, this is a PG-13 marathon.
It is PG Ghoul. Don't forget.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's worse swearing.
That's right. Yeah, we don't get the single.
It's okay. Well, I have one more fight with Beat left like this.
Yeah. So Beat's again like, haha, you guys suck, but we're like,
We're trying to give you your thing.
we're not yet.
Oh, yeah,
this is when he
that's
drops
later.
it. We're like,
Yeah.
like, you guys stink. And then like we look down and we see this necklace and we're like, wasn't Ryan wearing that necklace? And we're like, well, we should give it back to Beat because we're good people. So we're finding out here that Mr. H is actually Cat, which is Neku's favorite artist. You know, he draws all these like graffiti or whatever. Again, this is like the most 2000s game.
And his big value is to like just, you know, care about yourself and like just be yourself and own yourself.
And we find out that like Neku like really subscribes to like, you know, this like philosophy and school of thought. So what we're doing here, we're going to go up to the department store next to 104. And we're going to buy Joshua's final fusion boost to get him to rank 3 for his fusion, and we're going to buy an extra pin slot. It might seem it's a little bit of a detour, and the extra pin slot really isn't that valuable, but since we have to come over here anyway, and it does save a significant amount of time to get a rank 3 fusion on Joshua, so we're going to go ahead, we're going to go into Dragon Tour, we're going to go buy the fusion boost as soon as the game. This game's menu sometimes, since again, everything is supposed to be controllable with the touchscreen. Sometimes they'll like register like, you know, you trying to, you know, drag stuff up to the thing.
Yeah, you can use the analog stick to scroll the menus, but you can also just like click and drag it. So a lot of times it thinks the click and drag is. Where am I going? Oh, I'm just completely scrambled.
Yeah, just go left.
I'm in Scramble Crossing and my brain is following suit.
So we're going over here to a noise fight that we can't actually handle. It's so strong. So hopefully we don't die on this, because like that would be really bad in a marathon setting, right?
Yes.
You know,
definitely.
we've already shown how good we are at running away when Beat shows up. But this guy's just a whole nother level. It's a taboo noise. It's a rhino. Are you ready for this? I don't know if
I don't know.
Like,
Get my good running
like, I'm
shoes
nervous
on.
for my post-run incentive, but I'm like way more nervous for this fight. All right, so like we found the Shibuya River, and like, you know, we found, you know, Josh was like, all right, cool, that's what the tracker was looking for. We'll just have to play the game from here. Oh my God, here he comes! Here he comes! Get behind! Okay, we got the traffic barrier. He can't get to us.
He's coming.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
He's getting too close.
Back Valdemon. Stay back.
I'm gonna go to behind this one. It's not safe over here.
I don't have hurt box. Take me. Can I drag him? I can't. Get away. I actually have never tried that before. So that fight is supposed to be a scripted loss. You can't really kill it. And at this point, Joshua's going to go full God mode on us. And this is when Kari is like, I knew there was something special about you. You're alive. And we're like, wait, what? How is someone that's alive actually in the Reaper's game? And then this is also when you confront him like, you're not just alive, you killed me. And then Joshua's like, so what if I did? You know, this week is so good story-wise.
And the funny thing is, like, plot-wise, he's turning into, like, basically a god, but, like, gameplay-wise, he gets worse.
Yeah. So in the DS version, he goes from being terrible because you have to complete an entire sequence. So again, on the DS version, the learning curve in this game gets very, very difficult the further you go in, because Shiki's motions on the top screen are always the same. It's right, and then up, down, or right again, and then right, and that's a full chain. And she attacks on each hit. Joshua does not hit until he finishes a full chain. And the idea is meant to be that you, like, reposition enemies to different sides, like to the same side, so that he hits more of them at once. He's so terrible. It's so hard to use. And again, this game, like when you get to week 2, has a huge learning curve. I was trying to actually play normal Joshua. Kamehameha! So now that he's gone God mode, he actually gets a new set of pins, and that one's gone invuln. So first of all, the Acme drop was replaced by Sword Iris from Blaze Blue. We also can teleport now instead of jumping. We get Kamehameha instead of Tinder, which is so much worse because it's a press spin. And of course, we keep Sexy J because why not?
The worst part stays.
How is Joshua's aim in God mode?
Just as bad as it is normally, unfortunately. So in the DS version, though, when you go to God mode, every single hit does damage, and it just shreds enemies. He's by far the strongest partner in the DS version of the game. And all you do is, like, as soon as the fight starts, you press up on the D-pad to turn him into God mode, and then you just, like, hit in the direction, and you just shred enemies. And he's so easy to use and so strong. And you only get him for a little bit. So on this day, we actually have a mission again, and we haven't mentioned this, but, like, the last couple days, we've never gotten a mission. And so, like, the weird taboo noise are showing up, and things are going wrong, and we don't know why, but we're also just not getting missions from the Game Master, which is super weird. Like, that's never happened before. And yes, but this always happens in the story.
This always never happens.
So right here, we finally have a mission to go. Okay, cool. We just go back to the Utagawa back streets again. And on our way, people keep getting attacked by Taboo Noise. They're all over the
Your
place.
good is gone.
And we actually do have to help Now's partner, who's now unfortunately gets killed by the Taboo Noise because, again, they're very hard to handle. And
How's my aim?
So I've been told that I found out the girl's name now. Her name is Now.
Rest in peace.
yeah, the girl's name's Now.
Yep.
Yeah.
I forgot the guy's name.
Soda.
Oh, it's Soda. That's right, it is Soda. So Soda is left after Now, unfortunately, meets an untimely end of the Taboo Noise. And we try to save him, but unfortunately he's like, you saved me, but I don't have much time left. And unfortunately, Mr. H doesn't get there in time to protect
Shelter
him
him,
and
yeah.
keep him from getting killed. So unfortunately, we now know that we are the last players left in this game. So we know that we have to complete the last 2 missions on our own. Now and Soda are actually really great characters, and on a little bit they show up. And it's cool because all the characters in this game, like Now and Soda, you see them in week 1 before they die and then are in the second Reapers game. So Uzuki and Kari are getting attacked as well. You hear, like, when we run from the first Reaper, there's like, we hear screaming as we run past or whatever. It's okay, I'm sure he's fine. Like, they're pros, they can handle this. We're gonna buy a couple Brave Pluses. They're expensive, but they only take 3 bites to go down, and they're worth 20 bravery. And for reference, the tonkatsu ramen that we ate at the beginning of the game takes, I want to say 12 bites
Yeah,
almost?
it's 12.
And it gives only 7 bravery, so...
And the ice cream gives 2 apiece that we've been using for...
And it takes 5 bites to go down. So the idea is that, like, your vitamins are very expensive, but they're very good ways to supplement your stats if you need them. And the game is something it doesn't tell you. Like, you know that, like, you have a certain number of bites per day, but the last 6 bites never get full. You can always eat, like, snacks or vitamins as you go through the game. And
How's my aim?
so you can always, if you need to grind stats and you don't feel like going in and setting your Switch clock or your DS clock, you can always buy vitamins and use those rather than grind using that. One of the biggest rooters for the ones who do speedrunning, Gippy, also has a video for this version in particular where in the A New Day segment there's a side quest that you can grind and do over and over again that gives you a rice ball, gourmet rice ball, and it's a single bite and it gives you plus 10 to every stat and plus 100 HP. It's really broken. It was meant to be, it was paid microtransactions on the iOS version, but they just added it to this version of the game for fun. It's super duper strong. I intentionally avoided using it on the post-game file for the final time attack incentive. So we're on day 7 now. This is going to be the last day that I actually get to play, and then Oro gets to take over. So I got to get ready to take the handcuff off. I call it a little wrist strap that goes with the...
I like to live on the wild side. Nothing keeps me down.
So we get a message. And the weird thing about this message that we get is that everything that we get from our good friend Show has had like some weird number puzzle. Like the first one is 74 plus 30, equals or be erased or something like that. One of them was like square root of 5, and that tells you to go root 5, which is apparently up to Utagawa. And this one just says, yeah, go kill the game master. And we're like, wait, what? Well, okay, sure, whatever. So we're gonna go to this place called Pork City, and Pork City is in the post game. It's a post game dungeon that is 13 floors. Then on each floor there is a specific brand associated with it, and if your pin is not of that specific brand, it won't work. Now, what the game doesn't really tell you, it is super useful to know, is that unbranded pins always work. So what we did is we actually went back to our tutorial pins. And it's not like Neku's damage really matters that much here. This dungeon is super obnoxious in post-game, by the way, because instead of fighting 3 noise per floor, it's 6 and a pig noise every time.
Have fun, Neku. How's my aim?
And it's 13 floors. Thankfully, it does save your progress. You can actually like go do other stuff if you want to. But so we have to do 2 floors of this, and then we'll get to go fight Joe.
That was quick.
I've got $75 from Anonymous. Time to see what that remix soundtrack is like.
Yo,
And quick up, not there yet. We got the original is sitting at $370 and final remix at $272.11. So pretty close.
We need to get there before the boss of this week. It's like one of the best songs in the game.
How much time do we have for that?
Like 4 more fights.
Yeah, 4 more fights plus an equip menu, plus like a tiny bit of stalling if we need it.
Yeah.
So you're saying maybe like 8-9 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not even that actually. Might be 5.
Yeah.
All right, 5 minutes, $100. We can do that.
Ah, pass.
So again, there's 3 noises on each floor. It's funny because when we go to this Pork City, we talk to the Reaper. He's like, "Wait, what if players are allowed in here?" And I'm like, "Well, if he's here, it must be because the game master wanted him. So just do the thing." And so he's like, "Okay, fine. I'll like summon some noise, and you just defeat him and move on."
How's my aim?
So each of these floors has 3 noise on them. They're pretty normal fights.
And unfortunately, they're always spaced far enough apart that you can't chain all of them at once, so you always have to do a 2 chain in a 1.
Yeah, 2 and a 1 every time. Still bad as in the post-game dungeon where it's just randomly scattered, and I swear they tried to put them in the most like hidden corners they could, so you're just like, where is it?
I have a question. Why aren't you using the 10 pin?
It's just kind of clunky.
Yeah, so again, so the in the DS version of the run, there actually is a burst rounds pin, which is the best like type of pin for the speedrun in the DS version. But on this version of the game, when you're using it with the... So if you watch either one of Priya's runs or Herediman's World Records or something, you'll see them use it's tin pin...
Custom.
Tin pin custom, that's what it is. And it's a burst rounds pin. And it's unbranded, which is great for this segment. But again, burst rounds just don't work well because getting a press motion, you'll see me like, it's the same motion that I'm doing when I try to do the Kamehameha, and it just doesn't work very well. It's something with like how this game tries to recognize the actual press motion. And also on this version is a lot more finicky about if you're hovering over something, like including objects. Like if you hover over this car, you just won't get it.
Your good is gone.
That frog is not liking where he is. But again, it's really cool to see like this. See, like I'm trying to press this car, and
it's just not taking.
So, and that would be the same problem that would happen if we tried to use burst rounds on this segment. Because if we could, we would use burst rounds most likely over pretty much anything
That was
else.
a nice distraction. Open up your senses. Your good is gone.
Okay, Greninja, you go over there. Go away. No.
How's my aim?
All right, I need to interrupt you for an important announcement. We have a $250 anonymous donation that pushes us over the edge.
Yeah!
Okay.
The frog's excited, so am I.
So at your earliest convenience, we're switching to the final remix soundtrack.
We're actually just about to do a menu too, so the donations are well routed.
That was a nice distraction.
All right, so while we're switching again, I want to remind you guys that we're going to be doing a mini game, and I encourage everybody in the RPG Little Break chat to play along. So the mini game that we have to do is we have to count to 3 together once we build a level 3 super, and that's going to let us one-shot the boss as long as we get to like a times 2.5 or so on our super. But I encourage everybody in RPG Little Break chat once we get to that fusion to try to work together with your fellow peers and type a number between 1 and 3 and see how many like chains of 1, 2, 3 you guys can get together. I'm sure with a like. You know, however big the marathon chat is, that it won't be that difficult, right? What do you think, Oro?
It should be doable.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll just be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Twitch plays Pokemon managed just fine, so
Yeah,
kidding.
they kind of freaking Zapdos somehow. I'm sure you guys can do it. It'll be fine. But again, hold off on that until we do the fusion together. So we get to this top floor and we get one last look at this memory, and we were wrong. It wasn't Joshua that killed us. It was Show. So that's why we're having headaches. It wasn't just that, like...
So not only do we conveniently remember things in an order that misleads us for plot reasons, but Joshua also just kind of goes along with it because he likes fun.
Yeah, Joshua's like, oh, you did know I killed you. And he's like, you know, like, so what if I did? You know, like, what are you going to do about it? And he's like, he's just like the best, most lovable turd ever. So you see that he shoots at us. We're like, wait, we got shot. Wait, what? Nope. Show in the background. And for some reason, we get shot by Show here. I don't know why he was shooting. It's like, what are we doing? We're just looking at a mural, and then he gets shot at. It's like, no. So here we go. This is I forget what shows. Is it like Leo Cantus, I want to say?
Probably.
Because it's Ovis Cantus.
Hopefully, he'll never go
yeah,
into that form.
it's
so.
Leo Cantus because Tigris Cantus is the third week.
Yep.
So Show starts off, he's going to throw a bunch of taboo noise, and we're going to try to build up our sync rate in the top right corner to 300% as soon as possible.
Inverse matrix. There.
So we're going to try to like alternate our attacks as best we can.
Battle win. Not there. Good. Inverse matrix.
Come on, there we go. So our only goal in this like segment of the fight is just to build our sync rate up. So you see we're at 231. Once we finish killing this kangaroo, he should end up being targetable himself. So usually you get to... There we go. All right, ready?
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 3.
It's very fortunate we don't work at Valve.
Another world away.
There we go.
We did it.
All right, so now I get to like sit back and watch as Ouro does the final week, which is probably the hardest part of the run as far as the difficulty of the actual bosses goes. So good luck, buddy.
Hopefully, well, I mean, we're not having any desync issues this time, so.
Yeah, we turned our phones off before the run just in case to try to avoid any Bluetooth interference. So,
But Neku,
I thought you couldn't afford to lose.
give up on yourself, and you give up on the world.
So Joshua sacrifices himself to protect us from Taboo Show's final attack, which basically ends up kind of destroying both of them. And we're the only player to have survived this week. But since our partner was alive, we cheated, and we have to play the game one last time for all the marbles.
And our entry fee this time is every other player, so there is no one else in this last game. So we have to somehow find a partner.
Yeah, I want to talk about character development. Neku goes from hating the entire world to valuing players more than anything else that he could possibly have. So we go into week 3, and the problem with not having any players is we don't have any like people to work with. Also, by the way, change my donation choice back to original soundtrack.
All right, we'll get that locked in for you, but it's going to be difficult because we have a $100 donation from Sine Cosine Tangent. That went to the final remix soundtrack. So
Heck yeah.
an update for the total, we have $622.11 for final remix and $370 for original.
Thanks, Show.
Thank you guys so much for all your generous donations. It really, it's such a wonderful cause. It's such a great event to be at. So, like hearing all the support for the run and for the charity and the cause is absolutely fantastic. So please continue to have those rolling in. So again, we're getting into this fight here, and we don't have a partner because none exists. So we're just going to immediately run, and we're like, come on, there's got to be somebody at Hachiko. There's got to be somebody at Hachiko. And Izuki and Karya are just laughing at us like, ha ha ha, we can keep summoning all the noise, and you can't do anything about it. And then Beat's like, well, this is unfair. So we're actually going to become partners with Beat. He's going to give up Reaper Hood to become a player again. And so this is our partner for week 3. And Beat goes from being completely useless. I mean, in the DS version, the notes actually say don't bother even trying with Beat. You just jump with him and hit right until you do the combo. To being the most important character in the entire speedrun. This just does not work without him. The downside to Beat is that his bravery starts out terrible. He has a horrible starting bravery stat. To the point where we really can't even equip him to start the run out. So what we're going to do is we're going to start giving him those vitamins that we bought, those Brave Pluses. And each of those takes 3 bites to digest and gives 20 Brave. After the first one, he'll be able to equip, like, usable gear. And then, like, after the second one, he'll be able to equip everything he needs for the rest of the game. But we also, like, don't want to wait for that to happen because as it is right now, like, he's really good if he actually has stats, but he doesn't have any stats because he doesn't have any equipment. So we're going to give him those, and then there's, remember those pig noise we fought on week 1, day 3? There's 2 of those on this day that are very quick fights. It's about 7 seconds, and we're going to use those in order to digest our Brave Plus as quickly as possible. So right here, we're getting the backstory on why we're playing again what happened in the meantime. Because again, whenever you finish a week, it just kind of like closes up and then shows you waking up in Shibuya again for another new week, and you just kind of like go, oh man, you know, it's the oh boy, here we go again meme, you know, walking up. But so now we get access to Beat's co-op. So Beat has 3 pins like every other partner. He has his first pin, which we call the Dragon Rush, based off of the Dragon Ball FighterZ move with the same name. Same thing, like you kind of move while doing it, you have lots of hits, and it'll randomly just not work and no one knows why. Our second pin that we have is actually when he starts, like what makes him really good. He has a flash kick where he'll just kind of do a backflip uppercut with his skateboard. And this is really important because it adds an element of CC that we haven't had really good access to until now. Normally, we want to hold the enemy in place, we just kind of keep hitting it and hope it doesn't like bounce out or something. But when they're getting flash kicked, they get knocked up into the air. And when they're knocked up into the air, they can't move, they can't attack, they can't really do anything. So it's really important on some specific bosses that you use a flash kick to just keep them in place and prevent them from attacking you, because enemies hurt during week 3 a lot. And then his last one that he has, we call the Tatsu.
That one.
If you swipe across him and he goes dashing across the screen, it doesn't look that good, except you also realize that every single one of those little areas that's a trail behind him ends up having its own damage box. And it, like, you'll hit like 6 times on a single usage of it. It does so much damage. So every single one of the pins he has is incredibly useful because Dragon Rush has lots of hits, it's very quick, it's easy to use, it also repositions him very easily, it's really, really easy to use when it works. If it's in a corner, it just doesn't work for some reason. You have Flash Kick, which gives you that CC element, and then you have just like a very, very high quick attack in the Tatsu. That pig noise fight, one of those pigs is real, the others are all fake. On the DS version, there was some tell. I don't know what the tell is, if it actually translates over to this version of the game. In general, it's not a difficult thing to just kill all of them anyway, since our damage is so high. So we digested 2 bites of our Brave Plus on Beat. One more and he'll have it digested. Unfortunately, this fight will not count because this does not go to a victory screen, meaning that you don't actually digest any food. This is explaining his super, which he tells you it's like poker, but really it's Bejeweled.
Yeah.
So you want to match up 2 different suits of the same kind. Actually, no, it's not Bejeweled. I got the wrong Pop game. It's Zuma. Get 1 card out and make all of them do it. It was by far the hardest one to play on the DS game because it was, you would insert cards in and then like you would do a finisher that would like transition all of them, and any pairs you had would like transition into it. It was really hard to use. Really cool. Like again, the DS version of this game, the mini games on the top screen are super well done and super engaging. And apparently, they were intending it when they, did stuff for the DS version, the American release, like, how they rebalanced pins and did stuff. They were intending to rework it and make it easier for Western audiences. And I know that, like, again, I say over and over again, like, you either played through, like, day 4 of this game and gave up, or you played the entire game and, like, kind of battled through the learning curve and, like, adore it. But, like, I also don't feel like this game would have nearly the same appeal if it didn't try to do all of the crazy stuff that it did on the DS back in the day, so... That was, so day 1, again, always, it's the same thing. You always go to the left of the statue, you get your partner, you find out how your partner works, and then you go to the 104 building to move on. So the Game Master for week 3, again, is a really promising Reaper named Konishi, and she's kind of sadistic, is kind of her personality.
Her nickname is the Iron Maiden, so...
Yeah. And she gives us a single mission for the entire week, and that is, come and get me, And she has to collect Beat's fee, which is this weird noise, which we find out later why this noise is so important to him. And she's like, "Okay, cool, come get me. I'll be waiting somewhere." And come, and we're like, "Okay, cool, easy, we got this." So, yeah, right there, Beat goes like, "That ain't no noise, bro." And then we find out here that the entirety of Shibuya is now on all call, which means that they're supposed to equip these red pins that amplify Reaper's inherent strengths. It's good to see we actually kind of caught up on money, thankfully.
Mm-hmm.
So we need 84,000, and this will be the last set of shopping that we do for the entire game. We're going to go into the 104 building here, and we're going to buy a Beat Fusion boost, a Beat Attack boost, 2 Wild War pendants, and a King pendant.
Nice. isn't it?
And you see right there, the King Pendant has a +12 attack and then also a +4 bonus attack if it's equipped by Beat. So again, Beat's base attack by itself with no modifiers is 10. That item by itself, when Beat equips it, gives him 16. But we're not done yet.
But wait, there's more. We also get our first encounter with actual Reapers here. This is a lot of what we're going to be fighting for the rest of the game as far as normal enemies go.
Yeah, so when they designed the game, they didn't want you to have random encounters in the traditional sense, which is why every time we wanted to do a fight, we'd have to open up the scan, look for noise, pick which ones we want to fight. And then somewhere in... Okay, I was like, is that the actual edge of the screen? Somewhere at some point, they kind of decided, well, we don't want there to be no combat. So what they ended up doing is they added taboo noise in week 2. And taboo noise, if there's one on the screen when you scan, it'll never happen in the speed run because we don't really deal with it once it happens. It'll just kind of like track to you, and if it gets to you, you have to fight it, and you can't run away. And then what happens during week 3, once you do this fight, is you find out that the Reapers were given a incentive to just go kill you, and like since they're on emergency call, they can just attack at any time, and whoever kills us is going to get a nice fat paycheck bonus. So we are now the new most wanted in Shibuya. But thankfully, that fight lets Beat digest his first Brave Plus. You need to throw the second Brave Plus on. Yep. We need one more of those to be digested. Pretty much ASAP.
That's fine.
I saw the saving icon on the bottom left. Yeah.
That's really bad. I gave it to the wrong person.
We'll make it work.
We'll give the Goth Bondage Coat to Neku instead.
Yeah.
We'll just leave it there. That's totally fine.
It'll work out, but it is a little bit unfortunate because so the reason we want Beat to have a very high attack ratio is because Beat's scaling off of his base attack is very, very high. And we're going to get an item in a second here called the Goth Bondage Coat. And the Goth Bondage Coat, by default, has a +17 attack, which by itself is crazy good, right? But it also has a bonus called Jinxed Attack Boost. And what Jinxed Attack Boost does is it gives you a +10 attack, but in exchange, you start every fight in Peril, which is 25% max health. The cool thing about that is that the nice thing about Jinxed Attack Boost as compared to Sacrifice, which was Pinpin Thrift, is that you can heal and you'll still keep the Jinxed Attack Boost. It's really only meant to set you into low health for other items to use. And the good thing about that is that, and the reason why we're still not sure on if Pinpin Thrift would be worth using, is that when you level up, you actually fully heal every time, which would take you out of Peril, meaning that your damage would just be neutered as soon as it happens in the middle of a run that uses Pinpin Thrift.
Got a couple donations here if you don't mind.
Go right ahead.
Yep, $10 from Anonymous. Good luck to all runners. I have another $10 from Anonymous. Shout out to Priya on the couch for giving insightful comments in the chat and explaining plot and character backgrounds. Love the pig plushie. We have $25 from Anonymous once again. Oh snap, The World Ends With You is my favorite game.
So you have to buy those in a very specific order. If you buy them in the wrong order, you don't raise their affection enough to get the Goth Bondage Coat. You see right there, we also, by default, get the ability, which is nice. I actually just realized you're also not going to equip the King Pendant on Beat either.
Oh my god. Yeah, you're right.
When do we go back by Shibukyu?
A couple more days.
All right, well,
I think it's day 5.
we'll make it work.
I believe.
So right here, we're getting a refight against this boss.
Your good is gone.
So Beat's going to run up, whack him once, go flying up the top. Again, you just kill the ones that are on the lights. A pair of flash kicks pretty easily takes both of them out. And then we're going to immediately super just to kind of try to get him to a very small percentage of his health before he goes invulnerable again. Because even though like it's pretty quick to go up top, it does not always work out in your favor to do so. And it's usually faster to go for this. Not always, but...
It's like a marginal couple seconds of difference in most scenarios, so...
Yeah, and getting the 1 cycle is always cool anyway, so... And again, like the yellow health bar is much higher than the green one anyway, so... Once you get into this mini form, he doesn't go, or turn off the lights again, which is nice, but he does teleport, which is a little bit frustrating sometimes. Just like that. It's really unfortunate because he also managed to dodge the flash kick. He recognized you were holding down back and just said nope.
Sonic Boom!
Sonic Boom! Flash kick.
Can you remind us of the play style right now? Is it just Ouros? Or
What?
is just Ouros playing?
Yeah, right now the only person playing is Ouro. I have no Joy-Cons. The handcuffs are off. I'm just chilling and I'm, you know, having fun basically. So again, we wanted to, when we like offered this, we wanted to like have the fun of a co-op moment, but when you do co-op, the game becomes a lot easier and like you lose a lot of like kind of the fun tech skill. And we wanted to like be able to showcase what this game looks like at high level. And all 3 of the top times, I think actually top 4 now, since DB just got there, are all done with 1 player 2 controllers. And that's really where the skill ceiling comes into this game. Because again, you're not just watching your Neku's positioning and cooldowns. You're also having to care about your partner's cooldowns, and you're worrying about 2 pointers, and it just works out so much better. So we took what we thought was kind of the least interesting week in Joshua's week, and we said, okay, we're going to do that for co-op. We're going to have fun with that. That's going to be our little moment to yell at each other and I control by moving enemies away and whatever else. And then at the same time, we still get to show what this game looks like at its highest level, which is what you're seeing right now. So right here in the plot, Uzuki is given
this now.
The pin for the noise that Beat is super obsessed with getting back, and she says we need to play Reaper Sport 4 with her if we want it back. And Beat's like, yo, I was a Reaper. I know what Reaper Sport 4 is. No problem. We got this. And he's like, so we're like, okay, cool. Beat, what was Reaper Sport 4?
What does he think it is? I don't even remember.
It's Reaper Creeper.
That's right.
He's like, oh yeah, it was Reaper Creeper. Yeah. Because you hear someone say it on the side. It's like, you're like.
He also doesn't remember the word sport. He thinks it's spurt for some reason, and he can't get the word sport in his head. So there's just a lot going on in his brain, I guess.
Yeah. So he hears it like, and you're like, Beat, I don't think that's what it is. And you're like, no, trust me, I was a Reaper for a week. I know what Reaper Sport 4 is. Reaper Sport 4 is totally Reaper Creeper. And you're like, I don't.
Okay, Beat. Yeah, sure.
And you're like, and Neku the entire time is like, trust your partner, trust your partner, trust your partner. Like, go to a happy place, go to a happy place. So that was one of our random encounters. That actually would be good
if I hadn't mismenued.
If the unfortunate mistake didn't happen again. Once you do something like that, this game has an autosave system, so even closing the game really wasn't guaranteed to get that Braid Plus off of Neku. And you can't, once you give someone their tacos, you can't take their tacos away.
2 encounters. Oh my.
This is looking like one of my runs.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever had 2 on this day.
I have. So again, every time we go through a screen transition, those fights are actually really nice, at least. We have a chance of getting what we call a random encounter. We'll just get ambushed by a Reaper. You might say, well, why don't you just run? Surely you could do that, but you can't run from those fights either. Like, you just have to fight them. It's anywhere from a 5-second time loss, like you saw there, to a 30-second time loss. We can't control it. We can't do anything about it. We just kind of laugh and, there's some cool things to it. Like if you could say like, oh, it'll average, it'll be like 2 on a really good run and maybe like 4 or 5 on a bad run. Like I'd be more okay with it. But like the problem is, and the frustrating thing about running this game is that you go through all this like difficult week, you're mashing because again, there's no tech skip in new game speedruns. So you have to mash the entire time, which,
it gets very fatiguing by the end of just 1 run. Like I will just never reset runs. I'll do like 1 reset or, 1 run every few days. And that's usually enough to like,
You start
completely tire me
like
out.
Your entire bicep starts kind of burning by the end of the first week, like just from mashing. And so you get like all the way to this final week, and you just kind of have to just see what the game gives you and like lets you do. And like there's cool things, because again, like you saw right there, you got a 5.9-second fight, which is absolutely incredible. Like that's a great fight, and you feel really good when you do it. But you also, it's like you feel like a god when this game goes really well. But you also, it's so frustrating at times that like there's just like this little bit of elements of luck at the end of the run that you can't control, you can't do anything about. You just kind of have to like take what the game gives you. My record is I got 7 encounters in 9 steps at one point. And that run was on world record pace, and I lost it because of that, so that was fun.
Yeah, me and Ghoul have both been on pretty substantial record pace multiple times before the event, and just
my goal was
the game is fought every single time.
I wanted to take the record with me to Salt Lake City, and the game just said no 3 times in a row, and it's just like, well, okay, well, we'll get it after the event. So, also the reason you might say like, well, both of you wanted to showcase the co-op element of the game, why not just do a race? That's kind of the reason we didn't want to do a race, is that even like it's kind of hard to differentiate sometimes between like, you know, a good run. And we also wanted to, you know, make sure we gave like a really good set of commentary, which we can do with this. So a combination of like the severe amount of randomness kind of determining who would win the race at the end with wanting to give you guys the best possible experiences. Why we kind of decided to co-op this instead of doing a two-person race. So. So that was Uzuki. Uzuki is actually one of the harder bosses normally, but we've gotten quite good at fighting her, thankfully. In particular because we're going to fight her 2 more times, but those times are going to be much more difficult.
Yeah, so usually without anyone having the Goth Bondage code on here, like anything under like a 35 is good. I'm pretty consistently get 32s without it. But with the Goth Bondage code, you can get as low as like a 20 range.
Yeah.
And that's when it's on beat. So the fact that I had it on Neku here cut our damage a little bit, but we still managed to get a sub 35, which is pretty good.
Yeah, one little note that we didn't mention actually is what Reaper Spurt 4 actually was, and it was tag, as it turns out.
And when we discover what it is, Neku kind of just pokes Uzuki
it's
and
great,
it's like, you suck at tag.
Because we go to the guy, we're like, we're going to play Reaper Creeper because Beat tells us, oh no, it's Reaper Creeper, trust me, yo, I was a Reaper, I know what I'm talking about. And we go, and she's like, how bad are you at this? It's tag, you have to chase me. And the Neku just walks up to her, like, tag, you're it. And then like she's like, that doesn't
She's
count.
like, "Ah!"
And she's like, and Beat just laughs like, haha, I've never seen someone so bad at tag before in my life. So when that happens, Karya steps in. He's like, okay, Uzuki, you're doing great, but I want to step in, and it's my turn now. You know, give me the pin, and I'm going to test them and make sure that they are doing what they're doing. So we wake up in the underpass, and Beat is missing all of his keys. He misplaced them, of course, and as it turns out, Karya is a huge fan of the movie The Emperor's New Groove. And we'll find out why in a second here. But this part of the game is like, it plays out, Oro described it yesterday as basically being the escape room segment of the game. And you have these little hints on the ground that explain what you need to do in order to open the box. So like the first box has, I believe, a moon on it. The next one will have like a sun, and the last one will have like a star on it or something like that. And there's different hints that like tell you which type of noise you need to kill. So the first one, it just says kill the top left and kill the bottom right. And once you do that, which we're doing in this chain right now, you stand still for a little bit, and then Beat's gonna like, you know, sit there for a little bit because he wants to follow you. Then he realizes you're not moving, like 2 seconds later, and then he's gonna like open up for you to talk, which you're supposed to be able to do to like ask your partner for hints on where to go and what to do. But the only time it's actually important in the run is when you're using it to talk to Beat here because he's holding the box and Beat likes to push the button.
He wants to help.
Yeah, he's like, you figure out this puzzle stuff. I'm terrible at it, which we're like, yeah, we know. So, yeah, is it push time?
You get to do it.
So we push the button on the box, and it opens up, and we get a key. And we're like, cool, let's go. We got the key. He's like, that's not the right key. That's the key to the garage and not to the front door. So we got to go into the garage first. And we're going to go in the middle, and we're like, all right, what's over here? You know, he's got to like have something. And so we look in the middle, and there's another box. And this is where he goes Karya goes full Yzma on us, because inside this box is another box. Inside that box is our key. And yeah, Karya decided to save on postage, it turns out.
Damn it.
So for the second box, the only thing is you have a symbol with a bear noise on it and like a no sign over it. So you have to kill all 4 bear noise on this screen in order to activate the box.
Also, enemies being in the top right corner is really fun because it's really easy to accidentally hit the fusion button, and then it's just goodbye 26 seconds.
On top of, again, whenever you're in a corner, like the motions just don't work as well because the game kind of like gets confused whether or not you want to move or attack. Even though it's a different button on this version, like it still struggles with it sometimes. So, in general, like enemies going near the corner just sucks. I don't think we ever mentioned, we mentioned what Poison Bones does, but like the -D tells us that Poison Bones is actually taking effect on that Rhino right there. This is like my favorite week. It's also Oro's favorite week, I know. The music's really good here. Like you get Transformation a bunch. Make or Break is really good. This game's soundtrack, again, like the original DS cart was over 50% music. Like this soundtrack is just so good in so many ways. It really is the game that was ahead of its time in so many ways as far as like, you know, I can't think of any other games like before this that really had like a full J-pop soundtrack like this.
Yeah, not really.
In the meantime, since we're just fighting some more bears, Fan, if you want to either give us an update on that bidding war or read some donations, it's a great time.
I got $10 more for the original, but final remix with that commanding lead right now. It's gonna be tough, but I think it could happen if we get a couple big donations like we did to drive the final remix into that position in the first place. But for you two, what is your personal favorite track in the entire game?
Transformation pretty easily for me. Calling is up there, but Transformation probably.
I think Newborn, Calling's really good, and then the boss theme of the new area, or the final boss of like the new section, Wake Up, is super legit. Really well done. I've got it set so that when we're going over the build for the final time attack run, you guys will hear it there anyway. So
awesome.
But yeah, again, the soundtrack in this game, it's really something special. One thing that is a little bit unfortunate for this, for me anyway, I know Oro actually is a bigger fan of Runaway. There's 2 different ending tracks for this game. In Japan, there was Runaway, and then the US, they had a different theme song for some reason. Again, there's actually a lot of US exclusive music. I believe Game Over was actually US exclusive. I think 3 Minutes Clapping at one point was US exclusive. O-Parts is a Japanese exclusive song until this version of the game. There's a lot of that was done. I don't know what actually caused them to go through and do it. I think they try to get rid of games or songs with Japanese lyrics, I think was the idea. I don't know what. Again, it's one of those things you'd have to ask for Enix. They also rebalanced the game and a bunch of other little things with this version. Something interesting to note actually is we mentioned earlier that this game was developed by Jupiter, who did Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. They're not known for that nowadays. If you guys have seen my good friend Spike Vegeta play a game called Picross, they've made basically nothing but Picross games for the last 5 years. So Spike Vegeta's Picross addiction is the thing keeping them around now. This port was not actually handled by Jupiter. It was actually handled by Hand, which is the team behind Kingdom Hearts 358/2 and Recoded. I think they've done some other stuff as well, but those are the 2 things that I would know them for.
I would imagine they probably had a hand in Dream Drop Distance.
Actually, I don't think they did. I think that was actually
really?
the Sako Kingdom Hearts team.
Huh.
I think they gave that to them after a while. So
that makes sense.
So it's kind of funny to see those 2 development studios interact for this. Again, this version of the game, you get the reworked HD sprites, you lose the compression on the music, you lose the top screen combat. Both games again have it's almost worth playing through the game twice. It's it really is a different game almost when you're playing the DS version versus playing this version. And they both have their merits. If you can't stomach the DS version, I would recommend giving it another try on this version. You're still going to have some issues with touch inputs, but this game is so much more than the sum of its parts, for lack of a better term. You'll see us fighting controls and everything else, and I think the fact that again so many people have such a deep attachment to this game just speaks to the general quality of this game once you actually manage to kind of find a rhythm and a method that works for you to play the game.
And if you're struggling with the Switch version, for instance, the solo mode is a really great way to just experience the story without struggling too much.
Yeah, and also I would recommend if you're playing the Switch version and you're having issues with using the pointer. So again, we haven't really mentioned it, but you see the little cursor on screen. That's being controlled using the Joy-Con accelerometer. Kind of if you played the easy comparison is say Zelda Skyward Sword. Whenever you're aiming a bow, it works similarly to that. I wish it worked like Trauma Center. That would actually be so much better. But because Trauma Center used the IR pointer on the Wii Remote. But that can be a little tricky if you're not used to it, and that has a learning curve. But if you want to play it undocked and play it you're using your Switch like a tablet, you can play using just the touchscreen as that was the iOS version. And it
works extremely well.
Yeah, that is the preferred method for most people to play the game, and it comes pretty recommended for me to play it that way. If you, I like this for playing with it docked because it lets you kind of. A lot of people when they announce this port, they're like, "Oh, cool!" So they're going to bring back some elements of the DS version, and the co-op mode is essentially them trying to bring back some elements of co-op that were in the DS version, but it's not quite the same. So this is Karya. Thankfully, Karya is much easier than Uzuki. He just doesn't really have the same damage. So Uzuki has this attack where she sends out these 6 red rose petals in a circle. It's really obnoxious in the DS version because she can do it on the top screen as well. And the top screen you still have to actually dodge because for some reason your top character has a hurt box on the DS version, and you have to actually dodge it on that version. It's nearly impossible. If she gets it off, you're just getting shredded on that version of the game. Karya doesn't have anything like that. He can run away a little bit. It's kind of the most annoying thing he can do, but really the meat and potatoes fight for this is going to be the next one, which is going to be Uzuki and Karya are going to team up, much like how two players would team up and fight on both screens. On the DS version, Uzuki would start on the bottom screen and Karya would start on the top screen, and they would switch. And in every single version of this speedrun, this is the hardest fight in the entire run.
It's going to be especially rough since I don't have the Goth Bondage coat on the correct character. So we're going to be doing a lot less damage than I should be doing.
Yeah, which might actually work in our favor. We don't know what causes it, but Square Enix, if you are listening, this fight is glitched and it has a major bug that is game-breaking. Enemies will both get stuck off screen and won't come back on, which makes them impossible to hit. If you don't have a sync fusion, you just have to either close the game and reopen it and go back to when Uzuki, before the Karya fight, or you have to wait as you slowly wait for them to send projectiles on screen and run into them to die intentionally.
Yeah, my current PB in this game got perfect luck on week 3, day 6, which is one of the worst as far as encounters. And
That's that
I lost
attack
4
level.
minutes to this fight because of that getting stuck off screen thing.
So again, he's looking to try to make sure he keeps his health a little bit higher here. You don't need to stay in low health, you just need to start in low health in order for it. Uzuki's run off screen because the health value is a little bit low. You're going to see him try to keep them CC'd as much as he can with flash kicks and with Tatsus. Uzuki is now kind of stuck off screen.
We're gonna fusion.
Yeah, so we're just going to use our fusion here. This should hopefully kill. We've had it before.
Or at least get very, very close.
Yeah, we've had it before where if this does kill, sometimes if they're both off screen, it won't actually progress. This fight is very, very poorly programmed. It took me like 4 tries my first time to do this on this version casually. I don't know what they were thinking and why. I think what happened was when they converted this from the DS to the Switch version, they didn't know how to really handle jumping from the 4:3 screen resolution to the 16:9. But thankfully, once you hit them with that super off screen, it'll bring them back on screen. So that was a very clean fight. And we get to move on. That is the hardest fight in the speedrun, so good job, Ouro. Especially making do with how this game has been so far.
It didn't feel too bad with lower damage.
Yeah. Thankfully, we are still stacking attack on both characters, so a 57 there is actually fantastic, even with the super. If you do that fight with that, if you're lucky enough to do that fight without a super, it's about a 110. If you do it with a super, you're looking for about a 55.
Yep.
So, very clean fight. Again, that fight can go horribly wrong. You can get both characters stuck off screen, which would mean we have to close the game, reopen it. Remember,
do Karya again. Turn on co-op again.
Turn on co-op mode because that's a thing. Whenever you close the game and re-enter, you have to reset the game to co-op mode, which I'll need to make sure I do for the final time attack.
Yeah.
Afterwards. So right here, they find out that the pin that Konishi gave them was a fake, and we're like, Karya's like, I'm sorry, that's. I shouldn't have trusted her, but here you go. I'm gonna give you my pin my key pin, specifically because like I feel bad and like I promised you I would give you this, and I'm not that kind of a person. So they're good people despite being Reapers and bad guys. So at that point, you see a cutscene where again they have those red pins on, and they're supposed to kind of amplify their powers. And something is weird is happening because of that. So again, on week 1, we set that mission where we're trying to make the red skull pin popular. We checked on that day, and everyone's wearing them. And it's like, that's so weird. We can't actually read minds anymore. What's going on? And we're going to find out why a little bit later.
What'd you say?
So what's going on here is Beat is telling us about Rhyme, his sister, and her most precious thing, and the thing she gave up to enter the Reaper's game, is actually all of her memories of Beat, which is super sad, especially because she died. She actually never gets those back, even after the game. So right here, what a wonderful speedrun such would be. Every Reaper or person at this point starts saying the exact same line. I'm sure someone in chat should be copy-pasting it by now.
Yeah, if you know it, please send donations in with it.
Yeah.
I want to hear as many as you can muster.
And so again, something weird is going on. And what's actually happening, as you find out later, is that the red pin allows for everyone to be imprinted at the same time by a central source. So someone is controlling all of Shibuya with these red skull pins and making them all think the same thing, which is really, really weird because Shibuya is this like fashion center. It's known for being a very individualistic area. you know, it's so weird that everyone's thinking the same thing. We've been something is wrong, and we know it.
That fight was rough.
Yeah.
Cursor's got pretty desynced there.
Yeah, Cursor's got desynced, and on top of that, you have flying enemies, which Beat is not quite as good at handling as Shiki because his only targeted attack is his flash kick. So we're going to do a dry scan. If you go check on anybody, they all have the "to right the countless wrongs of our day, what a wonderful speedrun such would be" line. And we're like, oh man, everyone's doing this. Even like the real people are actually having this thing going on. Something is wrong. Like, same design. It's like, no way. Mr. H is the composer. He's like the big boss, the big kahuna. So
I'm actually going to open it up one more time. I meant to hover it over.
Damn it.
My thoughts exactly, Neku. My thoughts exactly.
So this is not very impactful in this version of the game. It's actually a really big deal. Something about the DS version that we haven't talked about compared to
Donate with this. I want to hear a lot of this.
the DS run compared to this is you'll see the sync rate for us. And for us, sync rate is just, it's a super meter. Like when you get 3 bars of it, you get to do level 3, 2 bars is level 2, 1 bar is level 1. Shibu Q, Shibu Q, Shibu Q.
All right, at this point, I might as well just commit to it. But I also don't have the money, so we're just gonna commit to this, I think. I could.
We could definitely get the money if we need to, but we're just gonna stick with it.
This is fine.
Because like we've only got 1 more day, and in theory we don't have any fights tomorrow.
And the things that Neku has on instead are gonna wind up on him eventually.
Yeah.
In like a couple fights anyway. So like by the time we'd be able to equip it, actually, like it just wouldn't even matter. So we're doing just fine.
Got $25 from Ace Cage. To right the countless wrongs of our day, we shine this light to true redemption, that this world should become as paradise. What a wonderful world such would be.
What a wonderful speedrun such would be.
That message has been going through the chat for the past 5 minutes.
Excellent.
Perfect. I want that going constantly. Let's go.
Meta Sigma has put a cap on it at the 250 mark.
Got $10 from Ahan Frodo. Keep up the good work. This has been a really fun run to watch. Good luck for in-game.
Thank you, Aeon. So right there, you see that fight. Do not do that without supering. That would also cost me a world record, right?
Yeah, that Reaper fight's really, really awful.
So if you don't super, new ones will come in on the sides, like as you go through. And if you kill them all at once, you're still okay sometimes, but like it's really finicky. Just as soon as you get in that fight, pop your level 1, go through it. Anyways, as I was saying with the DS version of this run, your sync rate isn't actually your super meter, because your super meter in that game comes with doing the mini game on the top screen. Because instead, what actually it does is it influences your puck passing speed. So the crazy thing about the DS run that makes it such a high skill cap run, and why you really should watch Priya or Herediman or eCast runs, is the better you do over the course of the run, the better, like the faster the game can go, because you keep your puck passing the entire time. It's such a high skill stealing run. It's super cool. I absolutely love watching it done at that level. And like, it's really, like, we're getting really easy stars on pretty much every fight. On the DS run, that is not a guarantee. It is very common to see Bs, and when you get Bs, your sync rate starts to slowly fall. So you even buy food to specifically keep your sync up over the course of week 3, because it's so hard to play with B properly. So we're gonna fight, this is Uzuki and Karya, except this time they're corrupted by the red pins. And thankfully, since we have the level 3 super, this fight is actually much easier than it is on the previous day. If we need the level 3, we can use it. Again, you'll see that he's focusing on trying to flash kick Uzuki whenever he can, because if she gets that Lotus attack off, we're just going to take a ton of damage. See right there? And we're going to get hit again, and you see each of those 29 damage and the hard knockdown. Something we didn't mention about Jinxed attack boost is if you take a damage, you get a hard knockdown as opposed to just taking a hit. Thankfully, we have a hat equipped called San Francisco that has a reduced immobilize, which prevents us from getting stunned at the end of it. Because normally Jinxed attack, which doesn't just give you a hard knockdown, it also stuns you, which is really bad. But it also, like, it's a really good attack accessory too. It's worth +7, which is the highest attack, or highest attack on an easily purchasable hat. There is one that we're going to get in a little bit that's a little bit better. So they're both back on screen. We're looking pretty good. We're going to go for our super here, do good damage. Again, we're just playing Zuma. We're knocking one card out and trying to get 2 at a time.
No,
5.7 with speed is pretty good. I think the highest I've seen is like ×7 if you get like just stupid lucky and it just change.
Yeah, sometimes it just falls into place and you just don't have to do anything. But
It's even funnier because like sometimes, have you ever had it where like you're terrible at the start and then like you just get one and all of a sudden you'll
it
like
just pops off. Yeah.
you just get to like 5 on like your very last hit. It's like, okay, cool, we'll take those.
Sure.
Got a $5 donation from I'm a Squirrel. To right the countless wrongs of our day, we shine this light of true redemption. That this world should become as paradise. What a wonderful world such would be.
What a wonderful speedrun such would be.
See, I imprinted everybody. I didn't even need red pins to do it.
Can you believe you imprinted an entire Twitch chat?
We have $10 from Beat. What you say?
Yo, man. Blah. Yo, man, we in trouble.
Whoa. So we have 2 days left.
This is the silliest, this is like meme day is what we call it, because there are no fights on this day unless you get unlucky.
Ideally, yeah.
And what happens on this day is we have to go all the way to Cat Street, talk to Mr. H, who's not going to be there. But this is like 6 screen transitions, and then you go back the direction you came. In every single one of these steps, you have a chance of getting an encounter.
Oh, yeah.
And that is the only way you can gain or lose time on this day is based on how many encounters you get and what kind of fights you actually get once you get into those encounters. Like this encounter grouping sucks. Like you got 2 birds.
They're clustered. It's fine.
Yeah, they're all stuck together, which is really good. If one of those started to run away, this could go really bad in a hurry. Like different Reapers, you'll notice like this one has like a yellow bandana. Like the different bandanas, Reapers have different health amounts. There's nothing you can do about any of this. You just have to deal with it. So that's a really good fight for that grouping, by the way.
And we don't have the stuff on beat either, so.
Yeah.
Like we have the same total equipment on between both of our characters, but we would rather have the stuff that I have on Neku on beat if I had not mismenued. So we would be doing more damage than we are now. Also nice.
So you're 2 of 3 so far. Again, I think my record for this day is 6, so enjoy.
Oh, that spread is something.
Yeah, that's... Again, those yellow bandanas have a ton of health. On top of also having kangaroos, which like to go invulnerable once they jump. How did you catch that one on the bottom left there?
Because I'm good at video games or something. I don't know.
Do we have any time for some more donations?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Not at the moment, but get some more in. I don't have that phrase memorized yet. So.
How's that bidding war doing, by the way? What's the difference on it?
Right now at $622 for Final Remix and $395 for the original. With that being said, we have $5 from Dragon7398 to protect the world from devastation, to unite all peoples within our nation, to denounce the evils of truth and love, to extend our reach to the stars above.
Give me more of that on Saturday for my next run.
I got debated so hard there. So again, we got to go all the way through the Miyashita Park underpass. Again, every step, which this is lovely so far.
What a wonderful speedrun this shall be.
On the bright side, Natural Buffy's doing well here. So
yeah, that's true. See, that's why I put all the stuff on Neku, because I knew that it was going to work out.
Got $10 from Slightly Mad Pixels. To right the countless wrongs of our day, we shine this light of true redemption, that this world should become as paradise. What a wonderful world such would be.
What a wonderful speedrun such shall be.
Thanks, smiley face.
Thank you guys all so much again for all the generous donations. It really, again, this cause is such an amazing cause and such an amazing event that all your support is just incredibly appreciated. So,
How come you're not healing between fights? I thought that was a feature.
so again,
Goth Bondage Coat puts us in peril every single time.
Yeah, so every time you do a fight in this game, it's a... Okay, that's right. This is a cutscene.
But we're still going to get an encounter, though, because...
No encounter. Okay, we're good. So whatever you... This is a resourceless game, so there are no, like, potions for healing. There's no, like, major things that are happening between fights. Like, you don't have to, like, oh, I did badly in that fight, so I'm, like, starting this next fight at low health or anything. However, again, we have a piece of gear on Neku called the Goth Bondage Coat that puts us on Jinxed Attack Boost. And what that does is that puts us at peril, which is 25% HP, but also gives us a +10 attack at the start of the fight. It also has the downside of if we take damage, we have a pretty high chance of getting our heart knocked down, which sucks. So we don't want to get hit while we have that equipped. But again, that +27 attack. Again, base attack for Neku is 10. We are over, like, basically, you know, quadrupling his attack by having that on top of having the King Pendant on him, which is +12. San Francisco's +7. And purple sneaks is like +1, but they're good for something else too. So they build your
Good return trip.
yeah, nothing on return trip. So by doing that, we end up starting out. But again, the attack boost is totally worth it. But we're going to start every fight at low health. Thankfully, again, unlike Sacrifice, which is the 10-pin thrift, you don't have to stay in low health to keep that bonus. It's just permanently there. You'll see us on like really scary fights. Like at the very start, she'll just chug the health potion.
Shout out to transformation, by the way.
We up for this?
So you see like the health potion, you get 3 charges every fight. Yeah. Sometimes he doesn't want to cooperate and actually hit you.
Yeah, that's the best attack you can get.
Priga is probably like, wow, that was really easy. So in the DS run, they don't use the same danger strats that we do. And because of that, like that fight is actually like somewhat difficult to suicide to and take your intentional death, because that fight doesn't have a victory screen. There's no benefit for actually winning that version of the fight. There are actually ways you can fight Taboo Show in that form and also get bonuses for it, but you have to do that in post-game. So the easiest thing to do is to just put ourselves on hard mode or level 1 and just take a single hit, and then we'll go down thanks to the Jinx attack boost. So we're going right back to level 22, and we're going to head on into the Shibuya River for the final segment of the game.
Quickly, do we have any more donations?
Not at this time.
Okay.
All right, so we're heading on into the Shibuya River. Again, we know where this is because Joshua had the tracker on his phone that tells us where to go. I think this is the last step we can have with that encounter. Actually, no, it's this one right here.
Yeah.
Okay, every time you get a cutscene on this, I never remember which one it is. It's like,
Yeah.
it's a cutscene.
It's just fun because you can get a cutscene and an encounter. Like, we could still get an encounter on that pass there.
Yeah. So now we're past the point. There are no more encounters for the rest of the run, and we now have basically a final boss gauntlet. So the first one we're going to fight is Konishi. Turns out that she wasn't really running away or hiding. We were like, okay, we got to find her. We went to all the different areas of Shibuya, and we can't freaking find her. Where the heck can she be? And she's been hiding in Beat Shadow the entire time. So we see Taboo Show again, and he's like, haha, hello. I'm going to go become the new composer. And Beat's like, nah, man, that's me. I got this. And we're going to have Konishi's going to show up right here, and she's like, well, I like Show as the new composer. Whatever's happening to Shibuya, I don't like it. I don't trust it, and I think it's going to destroy us. So I'm going to put my, all my eggs in the Show basket, and I'm going to kill you guys so that Show makes sure he gets it. It's a good thing she doesn't actually kill us, because if we find out Show, he doesn't just get one shot by us, as it turns out. But we're going to have to fight Konishi, and she's going to transform into Tigris Canthus, which is kind of a tiger boss. And this is... It's kind of a cool fight, but it's also really frustrating, for lack of a better term. So there are 4 phases to this fight. Each of them is very distinct. So the first one is, you're going to see in the bottom left, there's kind of this like pit of despair, basically. And if a taboo noise goes in, she becomes vulnerable. She starts out invulnerable. We can't damage her at all. If a normal noise goes in, she becomes invulnerable again, and she heals a bit. So what we're looking for is whatever taboo noise we can to actually end up showing up in there. We're going to try to kill whatever normal noise we can. We might want to heal. And as soon as the first taboo noise goes in, we're going to try to actually... we're going to try to burst her down before that little frog ends up going in and healing her and making her go invulnerable again. Which... Thankfully, we barely got it before that guy snuck in. A couple of little lucky side hits where he kind of walked into us was nice. So phase 2 is a relatively normal fight. The red ones will kind of like fly at you into attacks, but you also can't damage her. So like her actual hurt box is on the yellow form right here. We should do pretty good damage and shred her pretty quickly. You can actually, you'll notice we have a full sync bar here. We can use it here, but it's inconsistent, and if you fail it, it's just 26 seconds down the drain, so no runner actually goes for it unless they're like 10 seconds behind PB pace and just want to risk it.
Claim it if you can.
Phase 3, Neku loses all of his pins, which is really frustrating, and you have to stand in her shadow in order to make her vulnerable for Beat to kind of wail on her a bit. And if you're not inside of her shadow, you kind of take this like poison tick damage very easily. And we don't have access to healing or even a super, so something we didn't mention about supers actually is the super does give you a burst of healing as well. There's no way to heal once you go to phase 3, so this fight becomes very scary once that happens if anything goes wrong. So for phase 4, we get the Rhyme attack pin, which is one of the best pins actually in the DS run. Thanks to a very high attack. It was a very clean fight. Let's give a round of applause for Ouro there. And you use the Rhyme Pin to reveal her, and then Beat can just beat the crap out of her, and the fight is done. So that fight is very hard to do well, but it's one of the most fun fights in the run for me personally. Like, for me, I think it's like one of the most fun
Yeah,
fights. Because
I think it is too.
there's a lot of like little things you have to do that fight well.
We actually got her other pin drop too. That like never happens. I
Yeah.
don't remember what the percentage is, but
It's pretty low because you're on level, you're fighting on max level.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
again, a reminder that you can play this game at level 1 the entire time, and the only thing that affects is your health pool. So doing so actually does give you more money and stuff as you play through the game, just because of the number of pins. So like, I know that like I personally casually when I played, I was always like 5 levels below max level when I played, which is like a pretty decent.
that's a good
one.
range to be.
Yeah, like you're always a little bit under, but like you're also getting items as you're playing and stuff, and you're not like gonna die to stuff. So. This is kind of the game's warning, like, hey, this is the point of no return. Once you step past this, you can't really go backwards at all. So make sure you're ready to move on. And wouldn't you know it, hey, we took out the Game Master, so Shiki's back, which is kind of weird, but we're going to roll with it, so. I love right there, like, her, like, shaking her hands, like, all embarrassed. It's like, wait a second, like, where was I? He's like, yeah, you were kind of my, you were my entry fee. And she's like, oh my gosh, that's so embarrassing. So again, this game is super cute at times. It's such a heartfelt, well-done story.
For Sho.
Yeah, as it turns out, Sho just sucks. And he gets one shot again. But on the bright side, he drops his hat, which is plus 15 attack, plus 25 defense, a bunch of health. It's super good. So we're going to throw that on Neku right here so that we can go through. At this point, normally you would have to dequip Beat with anything that you want on Neku. Because after this fight, we don't get to strip Beat out of anything. It's the same thing like when we fought with Shiki or Joshua at the end of their weeks. We made sure to take, you know, like the biker jacket from Shiki and the San Francisco from Joshua, because we just don't want them running off with our equipment. We have to do that. We normally have to do that here, but because of the accidental mistake where Neku took the second Brave Plus, we don't have to really worry about that. So time save.
Yeah.
So Kitanji is the next boss in the little chain. So he is actually fighting with Shiki as his partner, thanks to the red skull pin that he's put on her. And you see her right there. She actually hurts like a ton. And
ideally,
Mew
she just
hurts.
never shows up, but
Yeah, she.
got pretty unlucky.
This fight
here.
sucks for that, and on top of he can just randomly say like yell "Time be still," and the time is frozen for like for a while. Can't
And it lets
super.
him break out a stun lock, and it's
Yeah, he could do it while being flash kicked for some reason, because that's fair. So this fight, you basically, it's build a level 3, play the mini game, and then he gets one shot. So it was a pretty solid fight. He didn't never do that. He also didn't never yell submit, which is sad. I'm sure all the Kingdom Hearts fans are kind of sad to not hear the anthem submit.
also getting really good beat mini games.
Yeah, that's anything that's like over 5 on beat like feels pretty good. Like times 6 is super good.
And it's not even really necessary to get that good of a one here, but you
Yeah.
might as well do something to kill time. So
Yeah, I think like probably like even times 3 would have killed there.
Yeah.
We just like play the minigame.
yeah, you can really suck and still do a ton of damage.
Yeah. So 33 seconds there is absolutely fantastic. He's also going to give us the pin. First of all, you're going to notice that our PP is going very high. So PP again is pinpoints. It lets us level up our pins as we go through. So it's kind of funny. We have to wait for those to actually tick through all the way. It's the one downside of actually getting high scores on all of our fights and getting the stars on them. Beating Kitanji gives us access to a pin called Lightning Rook, which is good in the DS version, don't get me wrong, but on this version, it's absolutely busted. So they up the number of hits it does. It's a giant AoE. You just shoot this giant lightning bolt, and it just like, and like everything dies. And the crazy thing about this that makes it so good is that the next boss, set of bosses have multiple hitboxes, and every single one of them can be hit by a single lightning rook pin. So something we did right here that we haven't done anywhere else in the run. It's actually a lot more important in the DS run because it's important to control what pins actually hit at what time. But we're going to set it to sub mode, and the reason we're doing that is what sub mode does is it says that unless you're in sub mode, you cannot use that pin. But it also locks you out of using your other pins while you're in sub mode. So by putting the lightning rook in sub mode, we can guarantee that whenever we're using the tap motion, we're going to get lightning arrestor and not get the force rounds pin that we have equipped in the second slot.
Yeah, at this point, we really don't care too much about our other pins. Lightning Rook is going to be doing so much more than the rest of them that like we just want to be using Lightning Rook whenever it's off cooldown.
So Kitanji didn't die there, and we know that we had to move on alone because Beat had to, sacrifice himself in order to block Shiki's like final attack, and they both ended up breaking the red skull pins as they did it. And we find out that Kitanji has been using the red skull pins to mass imprint Shibuya with a new mantra and trying to prevent it from being this individualistic society where everyone only cares about themselves. And by doing so, he's trying to create this perfect utopia. Because he was tasked with the real composer with rebuilding Shibuya and fixing the problems with it and proving that it was worth saving, essentially. Because the actual composer has threatened to destroy Shibuya. And this was Kitanji's solution to protect Shibuya from being destroyed. And we're like, that's not the right way to go about it at all. What's really special about Shibuya is how awesome all the people are and how special everything is. And all those individual personalities that you're wiping out are the reason Shibuya should be saved. And so we're actually fighting to prove our own mantra over his right here. So we actually have Shiki back here. It's kind of funny because we can't re-equip her at all. So she's still using everything that she had when she left our party earlier in the game. This fight is relatively easy. If you stand in this corner, it's very hard to get hit. Like, the main thing that Ouro is watching right now is he's watching the Lightning Rook cooldown. Anytime that is off cooldown, he's going to switch out of sub mode in order to go back to it and do as much damage as possible. And you see right there, you can hit the tail of the dragon as well, and that'll actually do extra damage if you can manage to do it. It's not the biggest deal here, but it's going to come into huge play in a little bit. So this version of the fight, there's two versions of it. The first one, you have Shiki as a partner. The second one, you have Beat. And you're probably wondering, where's Joshua? Well, we're going to find out in a little bit here. As you can see right here, though, we're getting to the green health bar and launches it and just completely disappears. We have the 2x sneak attack. We are hitting like a truck right now. One thing he's going to be careful about, he's going to try to make sure he doesn't have a chain out while he's trying to use Lightning Rook, because sometimes it seems like it'll overwrite the actual attack from Lightning Rook if you are getting hit by a chain at the same time.
He got me with attack break. I was doing nothing there.
Yeah, this boss does like to inflict a lot of statuses on you. One of the most common ones is actually HP Drain, which is essentially this game's version of Poison. It's actually going to be useful for the final time attack, as you guys will see in a little bit here. So we're trying to have Beat focus on Dragon Rushing for damage. Flash kicking, you can't really stun this boss, unfortunately. You'll see him try to use the Tatsu as well whenever he can, just because, again, those multi-hits come out so quick and do so much damage. We're trying to keep our sync rate high so that the sync attack... His hitboxes are kind of janky, too. Like, you kind of want to hit, like, the top of his head, but, like, going too high on this, but if you hit, like, his chin, it doesn't zap him either. It's a little bit janky. Sometimes he'll send out a little bubble, and you can kind of get hit by it if you want to. It's like definitely slower, but it's not like the worst thing ever if you get hit by it. It'll bring you to a different screen where you're stuck in a bubble and can't move, but your partner can still do whatever they want. You can still kill him during that screen. Doesn't really change that much, especially at this point. Man, he's really not liking you today. And that is the end of that fight. That will be the final fight in the final time attack. The final boss in the game is coming up right here. Time will be whenever we hit the pin at the end, so be ready over there.
And I've got a little help on the couch to make this a 3-person co-op run to hit the final input, too. So. Hope you're awake back there.
I'm right here.
Now you her.
Wow.
All right, so Joshua shows up, and we're like, wait, Joshua, you're alive! And he's like, all right, this is it. My final desperation attack. I'm going to, like, absorb all of your partners, and this is going to be it. So on the DS version of this game, this boss, on the top screen, you have the boss, the top snake head, like, with this screen right here with all of your partners, and they'll give you inputs to do. And whenever you do that, they'll do a super, and your damage will be permanently increased for the rest of the fight. And it's really good when you see it on the DS version. On this version, we don't want to see it at all. So you'll see there's a safe spot in the bottom right corner that's very hard for him to hit. And Shiki's being a jerk immediately and hopping in, of course. Fun fact, if you're like me and play this game co-op, you probably don't know how to actually affect those attacks. I actually beat this fight without ever doing any of those. It's basically just asking you to do the motion for that character's attack. So for Shiki, it's a press. For Joshua, it's meant to be a downward slice. And then for Beat, it's meant to be a press attack. Again, you might say, like, well, why bother if the animation is so slow to do this? But if we don't do this, he's going to heal for like 5,000 damage, or 5,000 health. Totally not worth letting him do. So even though the damage isn't very high from it, and you see, like, we're hitting 3 heads at minimum. You can actually get 4 if you're, like, really lucky and, like, he's, like, sitting in the right spots. but you just kind of have to like deal with it and just kind of take what he gives you as far as Joshua. We get it, you're awesome, but like, let us finish this guy. We got this.
He's spirit bombing him.
So are the partners just randomly activated?
Yeah, they're completely random.
Oh,
There's nothing we can do. I've had it before. I've only had 2 show up in the fight. The order's not set. At least as far as I know. I could be wrong, but
I've never had only 2 show up. I didn't even know that could happen.
I had like a really good fight one time, and they just decided that they weren't going to actually super with me, which I was okay with.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
So, because again, that animation, it's not quite the full 26 seconds, but it's a solid like 10 seconds every time one of them decides to do that. And as soon as she hits the pin, time.
Yeah, that was weird. It didn't like make the sound at the right time.
Yeah.
We did it. So now, since you all generously donated for the final boss rush, Ghoul's going to take it over here and show a bit of that off.
I'd love to play the final credits here, but since the marathon's running a bit behind, we probably
It's quite
should.
a lengthy sequence, too.
It is really long.
I'm pretty done mashing for a while, so.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and pop Ouro's switch out of the dock, and I'm going to pop mine in. I also got to put my handcuffs on again. So as soon as my controller decides to sync. Okay. I was like, where's the game feed?
This is Wake Up, by the way. This is the song that Ghoul was talking about earlier.
This is the final boss theme of A New Day. All right, so we got to put it back on co-op. Yeah, so whenever you... Actually, I swear this didn't work properly on the DS version, but you can actually choose your menu music by selecting a CD. And it did not have memory of that on the DS version, I'm pretty sure. So I'm going to go through real quick and just show you the builds that I've set. So if you're wondering what Final Time Attack is, or the boss rush, if you go to the deeds page here, you can see like the number of noise you fought, you know, the item collection. You can tap Shiki to take your time, but you also see this Final Time Attack. And what this is a single boss rush. It's an 11-chain boss fight that does every single boss in the game consecutively. And if you do this on hard mode difficulty or higher, so what hard difficulty does is it means that your damage is only 60% of what it is on normal difficulty. Easy puts it at 200%, and ultimate it puts it at 40%. So hard or higher, and your fastest time through this on the in-game time gets saved here. If anybody does this and actually beats my time, I would love to see like just a massive like chain of tweets sent my way of, dude, you took 4.5 minutes to do this. Like I can do this in 3. So real quick, we're gonna go through our builds real quick. So Neku, we have Samurai Wig, which is just a high attack item. We have the Black Book Bag, which is one of the best items in the game because of its SOS attack boost 2. If I'm in low health, I get a plus 50% bonus to all attack. And then I have SOS Power Up on Regal Presence. And then Purple Sneaks just for faster sync. If you go to Shiki, Shiki has Pie Face's Cap. Again, just very good all-around item. She has a red tier 2 skirt for SOS Power Up 1. Vampire Dress, which gives her a SOS attack boost 2. And False Teeth, which is plus 30 on her attack. Joshua is built more for sync. So you see right here, the Baby Brown Tee and the Biker Gloves both give sync. So for Joshua, my main goal is to build a level 3 super with. So being able to build that faster is the most important thing during his fights. And then Beat is mostly built around attack. You see right there, plus 92 is ridiculous in comparison. So Pie Face's jeans, Samurai Helm, Shades' headphones, and a Vampire Dress himself for the SOS attack boost too. Most of the fights in this are going to be done with Beat, so having him with the equipment is the most important one. Neku also, of course, is in every fight. And then Shiki is in 3, and Joshua is in 2.
All right, really quick, Ghoul. So your final time for this co-op was 3 hours, 12 minutes, and 19 seconds.
Wow.
Do you know what that means?
That's world record.
Yeah, it is.
How?
We didn't even get great luck.
No, that was a terrible run.
Casual record!
So the time for this game is still pretty unoptimized. The past world record was a 3:13 something.
3:13.13 by Succinct and Punchy.
And yeah, we just beat that, I guess.
So we didn't take the world record to Salt Lake City. We took the world record in Salt Lake City.
But yeah, I think both of our sum of bests are sitting at around 303, 304.
Yeah,
so there's still a lot of time to bring this game down. But like we said, it's really hard to grind this game. It's really taxing on your body. And it's just really hard to have the patience for. So hopefully we'll beat that even more when we get back home.
That run was so unlucky too. Like you had to do the 4 natural puppy fights and everything.
I mean, my PB, like, I mean, yeah, there's time everywhere. There's a lot of time to save off.
There was also the medicine that you used on Neku.
Yeah, that lost a lot of time
that
too.
Lost a decent amount of time as well. Holy cow. Okay.
Nice.
So once I talk to Joshua, this is going to start. If you want to run a timer, you can, but this does go by in-game time. Again, if anybody wants to like tweet at me all their times for this, I would love to see them. I've intentionally not used a bunch of attack boosts on Neku as well so that I don't just shred this. So.
Also, here's the New Game Plus fast forward that we don't have on New Game because reasons.
All right, so in 3, 2, 1. Something we didn't mention, by the way, is that when you chain fights, every single fight, the enemy stats get higher. So by the end of this, I'm going to be taking a ton of damage.
Oh, we didn't really talk about his pin setup either. So we have 2 of the Lightning Rook pin that we had at the end of the actual run. We have the Tigris pin, which is on sub mode, which is kind of a backup, which we really shouldn't need it.
It gives us CC if we absolutely need it.
We also have Tin Pin Thrift, which has a passive called Sacrifice, which just further increases our damage at low health. We have a Pegaso pin, which increases the damage of our other Pegaso pins, which happen to be the Lightning Rooks. And we also have a healing pin for safety, which specifically heals a small amount, so that if we do heal, we're still close to that low amount of HP for SOS attack boost.
Yeah, it heals 30% and SOS is 25%. So that was really good. Hitting that guy as he goes past is like surprisingly difficult because his hitbox is terrible. Normally I would actually just super for that, but I didn't have the sync built up ahead of time, so. So he's standing up already. So you see, again, how much more damage I'm doing than we did on our first playthrough.
And it's important to note, too, that the stats that he's using on this this file are pretty much the only bonuses he's getting are from the equipment that he has on. A lot of his stats can be farmed up higher, but really haven't been. This is about the stats that we would be at this point on his speedrun file
I think
as well.
Neku has like 7 bonus attack compared to a normal speedrun. Okay.
So we actually get to do this fight properly in the boss rush, which is kind of neat since we didn't really get to do it during the actual run.
Normally if I was doing a PB attempt, I wouldn't heal there, but I'm really nervous about dying here, so. And we're going to get back into low health anyway.
Yeah, and since this is a chain, 1 death is a reset back to the beginning. So this has to be done all in one stretch.
Okay.
So we have 1 more Joshua fight, and then Joshua's already done with his little section.
Only at 100% with Joshua too. It's actually not very good. Might have to do a normal fight against Show, which is something.
Yeah, so we didn't really show this off in the actual run because we just kill him, but he actually has a second form after he lands, where he actually transforms into Leocanthus, and it's really, really awful. He can just do a ton of damage. So hopefully we can still get to a high sync and then just finish him off as fast as possible. There's a higher chance we'll see it on this run, though. The things here actually die too fast to build sync as well, even with all the sync boosts that we have on Joshua at the moment. There you go. All right, so no Leocanthus today.
Yeah. Basically, whenever he goes Taboo Noise form, he has all the downsides of being Taboo Noise, basically meaning he just takes no damage. The one thing that is nice is he does stand still right before he does that, and one thing that's annoying about Show is he also teleports constantly.
Yeah, it's actually very important with this fusion, too, that it's done when he's not in the middle of a teleport, because you actually can fusion when he's mid-teleport, and it just won't hit him at all.
So this should one-shot him. We're going to still go back to full health, which again is kind of unfortunate because I want to stay in that 25% health barrier to be able to use 10-pin Thrift, because that's not only does that help that, it also I'm losing a 50% attack bonus, a 20% attack defense and experience bonus, and I think I'm also losing SOS power up when I'm doing this. So it's a little bit unfortunate, but like it's just so much faster and easier that there's no reason to not do it, especially in a marathon setting like this. So here we are, we're fighting the bat again. So we're gonna go kill all the bats on each of those, and hopefully I can get him before in one cycle here.
And as soon as the bat is, it's like, you know, the half of his green health bar is gone. He transforms into the small bat and won't start the repeat of the cycles again. So once you get to that point, you're golden. So now we have Uzuki again.
So again, on Uzuki, I immediately am going to try to flash cake with beat. Just because, again, keeping her from acting is the most important thing that we can do. Okay. And you can see again just how much damage Lightning Rook can do just across both of those pins. I'm at the point now where if I'm at low health, I can actually be one-shot from 25% health, even with all of my bonus HP at level 95, thanks to the 11 chains. They are going to hurt if I ever take damage. All right. So there's Karya down. Now we have to do Red Pin, Uzuki, and Karya. Again, it's doing the last version of every boss fight that we fought. So that's why we do the fight with the bat with feet instead of with Shiki. So again,
Uzuki's going to be the focus here. Karya just kind of immediately pieced out.
So I'm just going to do my level 3 here. I want to heal to full anyway going into the next fight because Tigris Cantus can, if the third phase goes wrong, I have no ability to heal and it's very easy to die in this. And like again, in a PB attempt, I might not go for this if I'm going for real time because this also doesn't affect in-game time, which is pretty good for this mode. But I'm just really scared of dying for these final fights because any hit will do almost half my health bar. Because again, that chain, every single fight is harder than the last, and I'm taking more and more damage as this chain goes on. Okay, so again, I need to wait for a taboo noise to get near the black hole at the bottom left. We have a wolf, which is nice. Those can sometimes hop in immediately.
If he hit him, he should get dragged in. Yeah, wolves are really annoying. There you go.
So by not being in Sacrifice, by the way, I'm actually doing less than half the damage I was doing with Sacrifice. It's
and he's still doing a ton.
But for marathon safety, I'm more than happy to give that up. All right, so here we go. I cannot heal from here until the end of the Tigris Cantus fight. So if this goes badly, this might just end here. Okay, cool.
Nice.
That's the scariest part of this fight, because if she gets stuck and I take damage, I will die. So right here, we're going to use the Rhyme Pin to reveal her, and then Beat should be able to just whack her down. All right, so here's the hardest fight in the entire final time attack is going to be
Kitaniji.
Kitanji. I'm looking to super on this fight again. Again, it's just for safety. It also doesn't cost time for the in-game time. And shout out to Deja. Oh, Deja Vu is my other favorite thing. Deja Vu and Newborn. Actually, Deja Vu was English exclusive as well.
I'm a fan of Twister, honestly.
No, we didn't get to see this during the actual run, so he's showing it off now.
Submit. Okay, Ansem. Oh, it's feeling good. I just went for it.
Yeah, might as well.
So again, that hurts my in-game time a little bit because your supers are not counted in your in-game time, but I'm feeling myself a little bit, which is probably a bad thing because I died on this in our practice run.
And now we get Draco Cantus again.
So I'm actually going to intentionally try to take damage when I can safely here, which sounds like a terrible idea, but I really want to get into Sacrifice. And these orbs can inflict HP drain on me, which will get me there without worrying too much about it. So this is that little
I'm surprised he didn't do that to me at all.
Wow, he's... something we didn't mention, Neku's dash is completely invulnerable for like a ton of it. HP drain. Nope. Are you serious?
We're getting everything that I didn't.
Here it comes. Here it comes. Here it comes.
So again, I'm trying to intentionally take damage to get myself to that 30% HP threshold. And I accidentally dashed through it. So the game's like, why would you want to take damage there?
All right, so now we just have Beat's phase left. Thanks, Beat.
Are you serious?
Oh, we're so close.
Should do this to finish it out. Might as well end on a big super. You see, like right there, it was like terrible, and then all of a sudden
This
it gets
all comes together.
Please be dead. All right, cool, we did
Nice.
it. Oh, I was so nervous I would
That's
die
it.
like in the middle of that. So time. So this is gonna tick for like a solid minute and a half. So in the meantime, get in here.
We did it.
So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for all your generous donations, for allowing me to show off the final time attack. Thank you for all your generous donations for us to switch the soundtrack mid-run. That was, I didn't actually know if we'd be able to do that because of the big difference. I want to say a huge shout outs to everyone that's ever rooted this game. A big shout outs to Puexel and the Games Committee for taking this. A huge, beyond huge thank you to Ouro, my co-op partner here. This run would not be in the marathon if it wasn't for him. Because I really did not have the time to actually do this until literally a week before the event. I was dealing with some personal issues. But again, it means so much to me to actually have been able to finally show us off in the marathon. And we
got record.
I know. We actually, like, somehow. So, yeah, thank you guys so much, again, for all your donations. And, that's about it. So
Stay tuned for Pape.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, give it up one more time for Ghoul and Ouro for that fantastic world record live at RPG Limit Break. And I've been Phantom. I'm going to hand it over to the great hands of K-Shura to take it over after this. But don't go anywhere, because up next we have Paper Mario All Bosses by Yoshizilla.
Welcome back, everyone. The host has changed. Hi, I'm Keishara, and I will be your host for the next round. And you are listening and watching RPG Limit Break 2019, coming to you from Salt Lake City, Utah. We are sponsored by Twitch this year. We're raising money for NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness, which was formed in 1979, as a grassroots advocacy organization by a group of parents whose children suffered with serious mental illnesses. And NAMI have maintained that focus to this day. I don't currently have any donations to read to you, but I can tell you all about some of these really cool challenges and bid wars coming up. Currently, the Paper Mario Blitz Showcase and the TaskBot plays Final Fantasy IV White Mages in the upcoming runs soon have both been met, but there are some really cool bid wars that you can donate towards during this run. Paper Mario Stanley's Fate, Save or Don't Save Stanley. Currently Save is at $85, with Don't Save at $75. Then Paper Mario Bring Luigi Into the Party has a yes at $615.10, with no at $65. So if you want to save or not save Stanley, or you don't want Mario to bring Luigi into the party, please get your donations in for those now. Thank you everyone for watching, and please wait patiently as we set up the next round.
Good morning. Bonjour. Guten Tag. Konbanwa. We want to send out our thanks to the people involved in our foreign language restreams. Our French restream at twitch.tv, Le French restream. Our German restream at twitch.tv, German restream. And our Japanese restream at twitch.tv, Japanese_restream. If those restreams can help you enjoy the marathon, go check them out and send them some love. Thank you very much, all of our beautiful restreamers, and wait just a little bit longer for the start of the run. All right, everyone, I'm getting the go sign, so we're going to switch over to Yoshizilla, running Paper Mario. I hope you're all ready.